5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, June the 6th, 2026, and I'm reporting live from my house. Good to see each and every one of you on board this morning. If you are already joined in or watching this after the fact, today's theme of the day is my second quarter 2026 APP-O-RAMA, and I applied for, or at least inquired about, a bunch of different credit cards this quarter, actually most of them within the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I'll go over that in the main event today. But before we get into that, we're going to go through Dugroz data points. This is just anything that interests me in the world of points, miles, cash back, and more. But before I get into that, let's just see who's on board, who has joined in and watching. Yuri G is on board. Hey, how you doing? Craig Howard Kirkland Jr. Sorry, Rewards Master, but the Rebels are beating the Tigers. Oh, okay. Ian says, hey, how you doing? And Jazz Fan, morning. I'm only here for the President's Graves. Not a lot of President's Graves talks this morning, but you will find that on this channel if you're a fan of such things. Juan Garcia is here. Juan from the MIA. Good morning, Doug and everyone. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. Continuing on here. Fargonaut, welcome all. Dugroz, well, I need my calculator. Probably not this morning. The math is minimal, and I'll do most of it for you. I see double animal fries. Good morning, sir. Tom Graber gets the ball rolling with the charitable contributions and gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Tom is aware that I do have one and only one membership level called a Dugroz Diehard. That'll get you access to my members only stuff. More about that later. Let's see. Jazz Fan just can't decide which President's Gravy he likes the most. They're also gravy. Nurakan is here. Good morning, Nurakan. And let's see. Yuri says, we'll always need our calculators. Dad on a Mission is celebrating 17 months of membership. Whoa. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your loyalty, Dad. Celebrate. By the way, 43 people on board. That's a pretty quick jump up into the 40s, so thank you. Click the thumbs up button if you have arrived and let us know you're here that way. That also drives more people in to watch. LN330 donates a $1.49 super sticker. Celebrate. Thank you, LN. LN knows that I have kind of a running offer that if you donate exactly $1.49, as it appears on the screen, I'll grant you 1,000 Dugroz points. So here you go. It's right here in my asthma inhaler. There you go. 1,000 Dugroz points for you. Keep track because you might need those in the future. Coder Coral is here. Good morning, Mr. Dugroz. Good morning. Fargonaut likes the 543. Jakes loves Jesus is on board. Gentleman Explorer, who likes the Knicks based on the avatar, gifts 5. That's 5 Dugroz Reports memberships. Whoa. That's just as good as a $3 super chat each. So 15 total. Celebrate. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate that. If you got one of those gifted memberships, speak up and let us know. 53 people on board. Again, keep on clicking thumbs up. Stinky Monkey Baby's on board, says good morning, everyone. We got a lot of content to get through today because I was off last week. I had some family obligations. I had a son doing a half marathon, and I wanted to make sure I could watch him do that, but that is now in the past. LN says, greetings from Toronto. I can't stick around, but I'll catch the replay later. Have a great day, all. Thanks, LN. I appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and move on over to the Dugroz data points. Again, anything in the world of cashback, points, miles, etc., that I think is interesting, that I want to highlight. Some is from public sources. Some is my own findings. Some you've shared with me, and that's actually where we're going to start today. It's time for America's favorite game. We don't accept Amex, except it's not just America's favorite game. It's the whole world's favorite game. So, friend of the channel, Jay Chains, sent me this one. Côté sans contact acceptees. Visa, MasterCard, Interfranc, Discover, Non-American Express. Where do you think this was at? And here we have another image. Visa, MasterCard, Interrock, no Amex, no Discover. Well, there's a clue here. If you look up on this sign, it's kind of Frenchy. This was actually in Montreal, Canada, Oh, Canada. And I joked with him, well, it is American Express. It's not Canadian Express. But funny enough, they had a bunch of advertising for Amex everywhere, and yet there was a bunch of places that didn't take Amex. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then another friend of the channel, Tweaky Mantis, shared this with me. Let me move my face out of the way. Tweaky Mantis also goes by the name Brady sometimes. You may have met him at some of the creator meetups. And this was in, well, it says Buenos Aires, so I'm going to assume Argentina. This was some sort of ferry that he was taking. We got MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Google Pay. We do not have Amex anywhere. Nope. You are not allowed to use Amex on the ferry in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. So, sorry, we don't take Amex. International Edition. Luke is here. Doogie Roy, baby. Good to see you, Uncle Luke. Thanks for being on board. Cesar Joel is here. My brother from another mother. Mi hermano. Good to see you. Tulare 73. Good morning, Dugroz and everyone here. DEM is on board. Good morning. Double reminds us to hit that thumbs up button. That does cause more people to walk in the door. So, yes. Please do that. A couple people waving at each other. New Again is here and says, Dugroz. Hello from the rainy UK. Oh, what you doing in the kingdom? Hopefully some sort of fun vacation type thing. Enjoy that. Matt Lawson's on board. Howdy. Howdy even. New Again says, Dugroz should be halftime show for the NBA Finals. That would be epic. I agree. And I'm sure everyone would want to hear the data points, get the Dugroz points going, songs, those kind of things. It's very, very universal type appeal. DEM saying hi to Nuracan. Jazz fan, talking about a trade in sports. I'll let you read that at your own pace. Yuri was in Toronto recently. How'd that go? Bill Wright drops a $2 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you. I appreciate that. Interac means Canada. Okay, so it's like saying, do you take Canadian cards in Canada? Yes, we do. Amex has separate cards in Canada, and they still don't have to take them, apparently. Oh, yeah, that's what I just said. New Again. And they're still not accepted. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see. What do we have? Lots of data points this morning. And I'd say close to half, maybe over half, are of a personal nature because I have just 2 weeks worth of stuff to share. I shared with you, the viewing audience, quite a while ago that I had applied for a bank account bonus with a place called Wings Federal Credit Union. I think it's for pilots. That's why it's called Wings. And there was a 2-part sign-up bonus. The first part was just by signing up and I think opting out of paper statements, you get a $100 prepaid gift card. That I got okay. And then the other part was you had to meet certain requirements, like I think 10 direct deposits or maybe 5 direct deposits, $25 or more, and a certain number of debit card transactions. I said that wrong. Direct deposits had to total $2,500. The debit card transactions had to be at least $25. They denied me the bonus, or it didn't post, and they said something like, well, that's because you didn't meet the terms, but they weren't that specific. So I just now got around to sharing this with you, even though this was back in April. And I wanted more specifics. I said this, can't zoom in that far. The terms gave the impression that you had to meet the requirements by March 13th, the award date. Since I did meet all of the requirements before the award date, well exceeding the direct deposit requirement and the 5+ debit transactions, just not within 60 days, I request that the bonus be offered anyway, or honored, as a courtesy and show of good faith. Is that something Wings is willing to do to preserve my banking relationship? And they said, member service rep, very generic. Hello, Douglas. Unfortunately, all requirements must be made within 60 days. 60? That's really short. We cannot make an exception for that since we must keep the promotion fair to all members. I would think it would be fair if you gave everyone the bonus, even if they screwed up. So that's kind of a dumb answer, but whatever. Let me summarize this because I put it in the Doctor of Credit summary just to make sure. And I failed. I admit that I failed, but this might help other people. That's why I'm sharing. Sorry, I got something in my throat. Give me just a second here. Sorry. Wings Federal Credit Union. How I didn't get the $300 sign-up bonus. My failed bonus data point. Note, 60-day deadline. I signed up under the prior bonus offer in late November 2025. I did get the $100 gift card for the referral promptly. The fine print states you must meet all conditions within 60 days of account opening, even though the bonus would be given no sooner than March 13th, 2026. For me, the 60 days ended 1/27/26. I did not meet the conditions until early February. I had March stuck in my head for some reason. I should have looked online, not relied on memory. Just to give a little more context here, when you signed up for the offer, sort of the marketing materials or the big splash page, just it didn't really give a time frame. It's like, if you meet the requirements, all you have to do is set up direct deposit for, I think it was $2,500. All you have to do is make 5 debit card transactions. And then it said below that in smaller print, the bonus will be awarded no sooner than March 13th. If you go down to the teeny tiny fine print, even though the bonus isn't awarded until March 13th at the earliest, you actually have to meet all the conditions within 60 days. Now, most of these give you 90 days or 6 months or something like that. Nope, this one, it was only 60 days. So I screwed that up, but I do feel like they were a little, nothing illegal, but a little shady that they hid the 60 days way down the fine print. Bad on me for not reading the fine print. I messaged twice and asked for an exception. No payout for me. I missed the debit card deadline by about 7 days. I asked for mercy and was told a firm no. No $300 bonus for me. I admit it was my fault for not tracking more carefully. I'm just sharing so that others can A, learn from my mistake, and B, realize there will be no mercy. So if you ever do a bank account sign-up bonus, read the fine print. Don't just go off the big front page marketing materials. Lesson learned the hard way. I diverted my direct deposit there for like 3 months and walked away with a $100 gift card when I could have had $400. Lesson learned. Okay. New Again says, but Doug, you ask me every time. I live here in the UK now. Oh, sorry. I forgot that. I somehow hadn't absorbed that piece of information. I thought it was just a consideration. And by the way, I'm sure the correct voice in which you said this was, but Doug. John's here. Yo, Dugroz. Merry Saturday, miss. And Juan says, Doug, thoughts on Greg from Frequent Miler getting shut down by Citi? I just heard about that 2 days ago. So for those of you who aren't sure what Juan is asking about, Greg, the Frequent Miler, got all of his Citi cards shut down. All of his wife's Citi cards got shut down. Last I heard, he had a Barclays American card moving over, and that was moved over after the shutdown, and it was still open. So it might be the case that he has all but one card shut down, but time will tell whether or not that will happen. Yuri said he just watched a video about it. I didn't know there was a video. I just read the article. But to be specific, Greg said there was an opportunity for having super easy spend of some kind that ended on January 30th. And what he did was he cycled his credit limit several times with purchases. I think we can safely assume there was some sort of shenanigan or strategery going on. He didn't share what specific shenanigan, probably because he wants to keep it private, I would expect. Thank you, Yuri. But basically, cycling means, like, let's say you have a $10,000 credit limit, but you want to spend $40,000 to get a bonus. Within the same month or the same statement period, you spend close to $10,000, pay it off. 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 Banks don't really love it when you do that. Now, if it's once in a blue moon, they probably don't care. I have a friend from church who did it when he was trying to get like a Freedom Unlimited or something, because they gave him a tiny credit limit and he wanted to do it all in the first month. And I'm like, I wouldn't do it a lot, but they probably won't mind if you have a $500 credit limit and pay it off 3 times in the first month. But when we're talking $10,000 several times, they're going to notice. Yuri says it was a flues loop. I only know a little bit about that. Yeah, he was doing AA Platinum Pro, which requires 125,000 loyalty points. Does that mean $125,000 in spend? If so, that's a lot of cycling. And Citi just had no mercy, no warning. They just shut him down. He went into the grocery store one day and all of his cards were closed. So, Juan, you asked me what my thoughts were. I'm not going to go to either extreme. So some people go to one extreme and be like, oh, that's so unfair. And I'm like, he is great frequent miler. He probably should have known better. On the other hand, I'm also not one of those people that has schadenfreude and was like, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. It kind of, I don't know. Sometimes it rubs me the wrong way when people apply that to things that are kind of minor. Like, I went to Dollar General and bought a $50 Amazon gift card. Well, you're going to be a hog that gets slaughtered. I mean, there's matters of degree. Running $125,000 in spend through a card, cycling multiple times, and me, buying a $200 gift card, not quite the same level. I've even thought, like, in some ways, I know that I've pushed it the right amount when I have my first shutdown. It'll happen someday, probably. I know it'll probably happen someday, but it'll make for great YouTube content. So I'm kind of just like, this is information. Let's learn from it. I do feel kind of bad for him because he can't get Capital One cards. Now he can't get City cards either. New Again says, Greg and Nick are A-tier hardcore gamers. Shutdowns are part of the game. Yep, that's kind of how I feel. All right, let's move on with more Dugroz data points. So here's one hat tip to the Doctor of Credit. Atmos Rewards is increasing their partner award fee from $12.50 to $20. And I think this goes into effect on July 1st. Someone can correct me if that's not quite right. That's kind of a bummer because I was one of the people that transferred not a truckload, but a fair amount of points from Amex over to Hawaiian while they were still a partner, and then moved them from Hawaiian over to Atmos or Alaska. So yeah, kind of stinks. $12.50 was tolerable. $20, I think that's a 60% increase. This is from Frequent Miler, and they remind us that if you have the Atmos Rewards Summit Infinite Visa, it waives those partner booking fees. So, if you're only doing 2 a year, saving $7.50 is probably not, I guess twice. $15 is probably not a big deal, but no, you'd be saving the full $20, not just the difference. $40 a year. Maybe I should consider that card. Maybe that kind of ties in with the theme of the day a little bit in terms of which cards I should get in the future. Back on the topic of the Frequent Miler controversy, John says he admitted he knew he shouldn't be doing it and didn't research as much as he should have. At least he admitted he messed up. Yeah, he seems like a pretty decent guy, pretty level-headed, pretty normal. Yuri just booked a flight to Mexico via Alaska, and I have 1.1 million in Alaska. Whoa. I only have like 250,000. Texas Dog says, howdy, diehards. Howdy back at you, Texas. Keep clicking the thumbs up button if you just walked in the door in the last few minutes. Another data point hat tip to Frequent Miler. You can earn up to 30,000 Wyndham points on one stay with a new promotion. Now, the fine print is kind of important here. So if you stay 2 or more consecutive nights, you earn 7,500 points. 3, you earn 12,500. 4 or more, you earn 15,000. You'd earn a bonus 7,500. I'm sorry. If you're a rewards insider member, that's like a paid subscription to Wyndham. I've never looked into that. I don't even know how it works, so don't quote me on that. And then another 7,500 if you're a Wyndham credit or debit card holder and you pay for the stay with that card. And I am a Wyndham card holder. I have the business version, the Wyndham Earner Business Credit Card. So if I were to do this, I wouldn't go for the full 30,000, which would be 15 plus 75 plus 75. I don't have Wyndham Rewards Insiders. If somebody has it and you're like, oh, I should totally do it, even though I only use Wyndham like once every 2 years, let me know. I would do a 2-night stay, 7,500, then 7,500 from the card. That would be 15,000. I have found that sometimes you can get really cheap cash Wyndham bookings. There's a place just east of here, kind of just a interstate exit with nothing around it, where I think 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I booked some stays and it averaged out about $40 per night with tax and everything. So that would be $80 if I did that again. So for $80, I would be buying 15,000 Wyndham points. Now, I've been to the United Kingdom twice, and both times I used Wyndham's partnership with cottages.com, which is still alive, even though Vacasa's not. And it probably averaged between $300 and $400 per room night in value. And 15,000 points is enough to get 1 night for 1 bedroom. and have a little left over because you actually have a 10% discount. So it's $13,500. So if I can spend $80 at the Roach Hotel just off the interstate, that's a Wyndham, and then later use that for $300 in value, that's a net $220. I'm probably not going to do it just because right now I've got like 80,000 Wyndham points and no plan on how to use it. I'd rather save my $80. But if I was planning another cottages stay, I would definitely do this. Let me know if you've done any Wyndham mattress runs. Did it pan out? Was it useful? Those kind of things. Let's talk about some transfer bonuses since I wasn't here last week. Well, actually, it was still May. This is the first live stream of the month of June, and that's when transfer bonuses tend to kick in. Amex has a 20% bonus to Marriott. Rove has a 50% bonus to Turkish. That's pretty good. Citi has a 30% bonus to Qatar, or Qatar, however you prefer to pronounce it. Amex has a 25% bonus to Air France KLM Flying Blue. Thumbs up. That one is solid. There are some definite good uses for that. And then Marriott has a 25% transfer bonus to United. Depends on a variety of factors. All of these go through the end of the month. And then I was on my Citi app and spotted a couple transfer bonuses that weren't listed here, although neither of these are exciting whatsoever. A bonus of an extra, whatever that works out to. Normally it's 1 to 2. I guess that'd be a 30% transfer bonus to I Prefer. Now it got nerfed. It was 1 to 4. Now it's 1 to 2. So giving an extra 30%, which takes it up to 1 to 2.6, still feels kind of lame. So that's really not very exciting. And then Wyndham, which normally transfers 1 to 1 from Citi, is now a 25% bonus, 1 to 1.25. Again, that's not exciting because Wells Fargo just recently announced they're going to always transfer 1 to 2. So even with the bonus on Citi's part, Wells Fargo is still actually the better of the two. Matt Clausen says you can do 2 7.5 stays. Wyndham Insider is $95 a year, gives gold status points, things like that. Not a ton of other big things. I can do 2 7.5 stays. Well, let me go back and refresh here. Fine print. Do you get the 7,500 bonus points twice or just once? I think it's just once. So even though you could do 2 2-night stays, as a percentage, you'd be maxing it out with just 2 nights as raw amount, And obviously, if you want to stay at a Wyndham, if you have a reason to, all the better. I was just trying to think where the sweet spot was for mattress running. But thanks for the info. I appreciate it. Next Dugroz data point. Aeroplan has points on sale right now. Now, this was not from any website. This just came to me in the email, so I don't know if this is targeted or not. But somebody asked at the very beginning, do I need my calculator? No, in this case, I did the math for you. So if you're talking 10,000 or 100,000 Aeroplan points plus 90,000 bonus, which is getting you to the maximum bonus, that would cost Canadian 3,500. Again, don't worry, I did the conversion for you. 3,500 Canadian comes out to a little over 2,500 US, and that's 1.335 cents per point. So you'd be buying in at 1.335 cents per point. Now, in my case, I use most of my Aeroplan points for pay yourself back, boom, which once it gets to Aeroplan is 1.25. So that would not be worth doing. I should just use cash instead. So thought I'd mention that. But if you have a bigger redemption in mind, like, say you're getting 4, 5, 6 cents per point because you're flying on Lufthansa, or you're going to use these points to book what's the South American airline they're partner with. I contributed a few points to help my pastor from church fly to Peru, which is coming up in just a couple weeks. And I booked that through Aeroplan. If you're doing that kind of thing, yeah, it would definitely be worthwhile. Matt points out that Rove also has a 25% bonus to Aeroplan for a few more days. Thank you. Appreciate that. Bill says Wyndham data point. Matt says standard disclaimer that he is deeply in the sheets with Rove. If you know, you know. Let's keep on keeping on here. Next Dugroz data point. If you're interested in the increased sign-up bonus on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that 150,000 point welcome offer is ending soon. Frequent Miler says they don't know when soon is, just they've heard lots of reports from the people who know this kind of stuff. It's soon. So if you're going to be doing it, now's the time. We mentioned earlier a transfer bonus from, who was that had it to Flying Blue? Amex, 25% to Flying Blue. Stephen Pepper from Frequent Miler reports that there are wide open Flying Blue business class seats, 60,000 points each, to Newcastle, England, from the east coast of the U.S. So this is mostly going to be from JFK, possibly Washington Dulles, possibly Boston, that kind of stuff. Newcastle is a city in England. It's in the northern part of England, not yet into Scotland. So if you kind of think of where England meets Scotland, this is one of those interesting things where he says in the latter part of the summer, so like July and August, he can frequently find 4 business class seats on the same flight, which is great for families. Unfortunately, it's just now opening up and you only have a couple months to plan. But also early next year, like January, February, March, maybe April. So if you have more flexibility than I do and you can take your whole family on a vacation to Europe in the first 4 months of next year, might be worth looking into. It's also kind of funny that like, how much is it to fly from JFK to Paris? Well, it's going to be 120,000 points. All right. How much is it to take the exact same flight and then fly from there onwards to Newcastle, England? Oh, it's going to be half as much. Just always a weird how awards like that work. Bill Wright says, if you're a veteran, Caesars has a Salute Players card. It gives Caesars Platinum. You can then tier match to Wyndham for Wyndham Platinum. Awesome. That's good to know. And I also know some people will move Wyndham points over to Caesars for some niche type things. It's never really worked out for me. I just use Wyndham for either Wyndham or cottages, formerly Vacasa. Nick says, I will watch the replay. Will the quartet be making an appearance in this live? Well, there will be a mention, but they will not be singing. But don't worry, there will be some musical interlude today. Yuri says, there are reports that Lufthansa first class is no longer available to partners like Air Canada and I'm not sure what AV is, Avios. But that would be a bummer. Now, that's first class, not business. So is my memory correct that in the past they usually didn't open that first class until about 2 weeks before the flight? Still, I know a lot of people took advantage of that. Filmo's here. How you doing, Filmo? It's been a while. And he wants to know, do we have to take our families organ? I'm going to say it this way. Do we have to take our whole family to Europe or can we go without them? You handle that however you want, Filmo. Maybe you and me can take a trip to Newcastle, England this coming year. Matt says, I've seen 6/13 and 6/14 as the soon date for Chase when the CSR increased sign-up bonus will end. Yuri said those Lufthansa business class flights open about a week before the flight. I flew it twice. Awesome. That's radical. 70 people on board. We went up to like 70, dropped back down to 50. Now we're back up in the 70s. So keep on smashing the thumbs up button. Any donation helps. A super chat, super sticker. I've got a tip jar link down below, and I'll explain that in a little more detail a little bit later. Let's see. Where were we? I went over that. I have not yet gone over this. Just a fun quote from Ladder Emoji over on Discord. I like canceling and downgrading cards almost as much as getting new ones. And I agree with that. Sometimes it's fun to cancel and downgrade. Ladder Emoji sometimes goes by the name Jason. So if you're on board, hi, I liked your quote. You know how Capital One's just giving out these offers like candy? I've seen this one a couple times recently. Dollar General online or in store, 15x. It says used by June 1st, but that's just because I screenshotted it a week or so ago. It's come up. I guess I haven't checked since then, but I bet it keeps coming up. The terms and conditions might say something like gift cards don't count, but they do. At least I've used this twice now, and it's worked both times. Now, $200 divided by 15x, that comes out to what? Somewhere around $15 roughly. So you're not making big bucks as a raw dollar amount, but as a percentage, it's pretty good. Or if you need to go in and buy some pickles and cookies and whatever it is you buy at Dollar General, that's a darn good offer, and it comes up a lot. Ian says, I got a close-in alert for Lufthansa F last week via Aeroplan. That's good to know. Yuri says that's before June 1st. Oh, okay, maybe it changed. Yuri says, I was using that Dollar General offer, and it was working, but then it wasn't. Well, your mileage may vary. Let us know how that turns out. Double says CSR's 150s ending in about a week. That's kind of in line with what Matt says. About a week from now, roughly. That's a ballpark. Coder Corel is going to use my Capital One offer at CVS today. Yeah, I get those all the time as well. Also frequently 10x or 15x, but usually much higher spending limits. So like buying a $50 item or two is worthwhile. Here's a fun personal data point that really doesn't apply to much of anything because I'm not a personal finance guy, but I thought I'd mention it. My wife's grandpa has now passed away, but before he died, somewhere around 2021, 2022, he was always trying to give investing advice to me and my brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws. And we're like, Grandpa, we don't have money to invest. We're poor. But one time he gave us a little bit of money. I think he gave us like $2,000. He said, you use this for whatever you want, whatever's helpful. But I would encourage you to, invest a little bit of it in Micron technology, which is a microchip processor. And at the time I bought in, it was, I think, somewhere around like $60 a share. So like my cost basis was $120. I hadn't checked on it in a long time. I've just held it ever since we bought it. And it's now worth $1,791. My unrealized gain is $1,703. So yeah, if you look at the difference between these two, that's about $90. So I bought it at about $45 a share, and now it's worth $895 a share. If you look at the chart here, that's what it looks like from roughly the time that I bought in. And I wasn't even paying attention. Then all of a sudden I look at it's with Wells Fargo, my Wells Fargo trading account, which I don't have hardly any money in. I'm like, what in the world? This is way higher than I remember. Well, it has to do with AI because apparently everyone is buying microchips and RAM like it's going out of style. So one of those things where if I could go back in time and use all of Grandpa's $2,000 instead of just $90, I probably should have done that. Double says Summit refunding booking fees is getting more valuable as fees go up. I would like to see this on other airline cards. I agree. That's a very good practical benefit. Now, even better is airlines that don't charge fees for bookings and stuff like American. Ian says, LOL, Trump put out a buy rating on MU last week and it went crazy. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing that presidents did. Moving on. Next Dugroz data point. Sorry, I got in my own head about investing stuff. Hey, did you know this? This was shortly after my last live stream 2 weeks ago. Citi is discontinuing the custom cash card for at least new applicants. Now, last I'd heard, data points say you can still product change into it if you're allowed to make that kind of product change. But yeah, no longer on the website. You can no longer apply for the custom cash. I did a whole separate video earlier this week that was something like, I finally got the Citi Quartet. I got the double cash. That was my most recent pickup. So that completes the Strata, double cash, custom cash, Strata Elite, quartet or quadfective cards. I was able to have it on paper for like 3 days, and then this happened. So yeah, that's a thing. Ian talking about stock advice. Source King says it's not. I'm assuming you're referring to the stock advice thing, or maybe something I said. Clarify if it's not the stock thing. Jim B comments says 60 years after The Graduate, plastics is actually decent investing advice. It just means getting value from credit cards in this era. Oh, yeah, that's plastics. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. But I know the reference. Coder says, wait, the custom cash is discontinued. Why has nobody talked about this? Ian's giving more stock advice of things I don't understand, so I'll just stay out of that. I just got lucky with the whole Micron technology thing. Citi has some offers to make up for losing the custom cash. At Shell and British Petroleum, you can spend $40 or more and get $5 back. I haven't looked to see if I was targeted for this or not, but might be worth doing. Yuri says, everybody talked about the CCC discontinuation. Well, I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic or not, but if not, might need to up the setting on your sarcasm alarm just a little bit. Yeah, I think we all know everybody talked about the CCC, everybody and their brother. Next data point, American Express is changing the name of the green card to the classic green card. And the message boards went nuts when they found that out. Even though this is the only piece of information, like no other changes, the speculation of like, this portends disaster, that kind of stuff was happening. Like, well, they're going to discontinue it and call it that for all the people that are grandfathered in, but the new card's going to have a higher annual fee and it's going to be trash. It's going to be great, whatever. Just everybody loved to speculate. Bill says, my wife walked in on me while you were singing the quadfecta. Hey, there's a lot worse things that your wife can walk in on than that. So if that's the worst thing, marriage is going well. All right. I had mentioned earlier, there's various ways you can support my channel. I'll take just a few moments to review some of those here right now. So you can join as a Dugroz diehard. It's only $3 a month, cancel anytime. I just find the join button on any of my videos and click it. It's my one and only one membership level. I now have 70 long form members only videos. On top of that, there are shorts and there are a handful of members only live streams, not a lot. If any of these topics look interesting to you, join as a Dugroz diehard. Click the button and join while the live stream's going. It'll show up on the screen. We'll have a little celebration. Sometimes it's just fun things of a personal nature. Here's one I did about some customer service experiences I had recently. Sometimes it's about strategy. Sometimes it's about just my thoughts on things that for whatever reason, I don't want to share publicly. Maybe it's too insider sensitive. Maybe it's just goofy and I don't think it'll play well. But if you like what's happening here, you'll like being a Dugroz diehard. And feel free to donate a membership too if you think that would help other people. Another way that you can help out is with my tip jar. So if you go down below into the URL box description of this channel, I said that wrong. The description box of this channel, you'll find a URL, top tip jar, and you can either donate anonymously through that, or if you just would rather have a smaller percentage go to YouTube, because when you donate directly through YouTube, about 30% is confiscated, and that's fine. I know, it's great to have celebrations. Other people can see it, and we can all celebrate together. You can encourage other people. Other people just want to be a little more discreet with their giving, although if it's not anonymous, I will still try to shout you out as things go on. Let me get to my dashboard here, and I need to acknowledge a couple people here. Last week, there was a person who goes by the name For the Leons of the World who donated $2 through the tip jar. Celebrate. Leon is the alter ego of me who lives in Des Moines and is sort of an everydad. And then Juan from the MIA just 38 minutes ago gave $3. Thank you, Juan. He was on board earlier. If you still are, thank you so much. Celebrate. So thank you for those who dropped some cash in the tip jar. Another way you can support my channel is by getting a good night of sleep. But Doug, how does sleeping help you? Well, on screen now is my favorite mattress, the Sparrow Signature Hybrid from Nest Bedding, and I have an affiliate relationship with this mattress. My wife and I slept on one for more than 6 years. Here's the video I made when I had a little less gray in my beard, and we still use it. To be a little more specific, I like it because it has a lifetime renewal exchange where you can swap out the top layer. It's got a zipper, so you don't have to ruin it if you need a new layer of memory foam. Once for free in the lifetime of the mattress. They'll just send you one, no questions asked. If you want to do it more than once, you can do that by just buying one and not ruining the mattress. Very renewable and conscientious. Here's a video that I made of that 6-year re-review. Check that out down below in the URL. Simply by watching that video, you help my channel out. That way the affiliate knows that I am serious. So thank you for your consideration if you ever want to get a better night of sleep. I'll catch up on comments and then continue on with the Dugroz data points here. Sleepy Rod says you should make an additional YouTube channel where all you do is sing. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've thought about turning Dugroz Nostalgia into a music-oriented channel. I haven't had a ton of sales and success through Bandcamp. I do have a link down in the description box if you want to see the music that I've produced using Suno, which is AI. The things where I sing in real life, I'm 47 now. My voice isn't what it used to be. For short comedic bits, it works okay, but no one's going to buy it. But if you want to buy some of the funny parody songs that I've made, or I do have 2 serious albums, I've had a couple sales on there, which is nice. Not a lot. I think one person bought 2 singles, maybe 3. One person bought a couple albums. So that is a real thing. Dugroz.bandcamp.com. Thank you for prompting me to think of it. Not a whole separate YouTube channel, but a place where you can hear music. Philmo says, sometimes it's about the golden ponies. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Mike Newland says, how's the new Apple Card job going? Oh, well, I ended up not accepting that offer, Mike, after a little more thought. Thankfully, I didn't resign my day job before going for that one. This is a reference to an inside thing on the members only channel. If you know, you know. Riffraff EH says, by any chance did Grandpa have any other stock recommendations? He recommended Boeing stock because his thought was like, there's only 2 companies in the entire world that make great big airplanes, and flying isn't going anywhere. Now, that was far enough before Boeing stock tanked when they had those 2 plane crashes on the MAX that it had actually grown a fair bit, so that when it tanked, I just kind of got back to break even. Any gain since then has been on top of that. Boeing hasn't performed nearly as well as Micron. Jim B. comment says, Dugroz reports, celebrate. Dugroz Quartet, harmonize. Thank you for tolerating me. I did that in kind of a hurry, so I'm glad a few people liked it. Texas Dog drops $1.49 there by feeding the algorithm. Celebrate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, we should probably keep going with the stuff that we need to keep going on here. How about this? We talked about Wyndham and how you can do the mattress run things, but you can also buy Wyndham points for as low as 0.72 cents each. That's through July 3rd. Now, this is a 100,000 point cap before the bonus. So if you max it out, you're going to end up with 180,000 Wyndham points. The times I've used Wyndham points, I've earmarked them at worth 1.25 cents each. Yes, that is cherry picking. The average value is going to be quite a bit less, but I mean, that's including like, Super 8s and Wyndham Garden Inns and Ramadas in the bad part of town and that kind of stuff. If you're more picky, it can be worth it to buy those points. I'm not going to do that right now, but again, if I had a specific use case, I would, and I have in the past. A lot of people mentioned the City Quartet thing, and that was triggered when I went from a trio to a quartet and got the double cash. There will be more comments in that on the theme of the day today. The theme of the day today is my second quarter APP-O-RAMA, inquiring and applying for many cards with mixed results. Stay tuned for that. But I brought that up because getting the City double cash made me realize something. When I knew the custom cash was going to be discontinued, I took my Strata card and product changed it immediately to a third custom cash. An interesting observation. So even though it was mid-cycle, the cycle had not yet closed, instead of earning the Strata earnings, it went retroactive to the beginning of the current cycle and treated it as a custom cash. So like the Strata gets 2x on dining, whereas the custom cash is just 5x on your top category. So you'll notice here, this was actually, I gave the card to my kids. They were going on a school activity before school ended. Went to a place called Big Acai Valley Junction, West Des Moines, Iowa. That's a suburb of Des Moines, and ate at a restaurant there. But instead of saying reward category dining 2x, it says all other eligible purchases. So this is a customer service announcement. If you product change a City card, apparently whatever the earning structure was earlier in that statement cycle goes away, and you retroactively get whatever the new card has. At least going from a Strata to a custom cash, in my particular case, that's how it worked. Now, obviously, they're only spending $10, $15 on restaurants. I might have missed out on a little bit of earnings because that's probably going to drop from 2x to 1x. Unless restaurants ends up being the biggest, it probably won't. So just sort of a fair warning on that. You might lose out on a few points. I'll lose out on a smattering of points as it pertains to that matter. AS1234 is waving hi. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. 76 people on board. Click thumbs up if you have jumped on since the last time I said that. That brings more people in. I would love to clear 85 people for the main event, and I'd really, really love to clear 100. That's only happened a couple times. We'll see. Sean is on board. Good morning, Dugroz. Glad to be here for another live. Let's go. Absolutely. Filmo bought 100K Wyndham points last sale. The one that's happening right now, the 0.721, is not the all-time low. I think the all-time low is 0.68 or 0.65, so it has gotten better in the past. Vincent Pascal is here. Happy Saturday, Dugroz, and drops a $1.99 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you so much, Vincent. I really appreciate your patronage. I mention this like almost every Saturday. I know it's getting repetitious, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Upside keeps coming through for me. Another $1.18 earned at Taco John's. There's a whole lot of Mexican going on at Taco John's, and Taco John's and Taco Bell, for whatever reason, are the two places where I can consistently get a lot of cash back with the upside. There's my invite code, Dugroz8785. Download the Upside app. I think I get a bonus of some time. I've seen a couple 10 cents come through for a referral, so thank you to whoever it was who got my referral. There's the, what do you call that? Beep, take a picture code. I don't remember what they're called. You know what I mean, though. So, dun, 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 dun. There you go. That's enough time to take a picture. And you get an extra 50 cents per gallon on your first gas purchase, an extra 20% back on your first restaurant purchase, and an instant 10% back every time your friend uses Upside. So I think I get the 10 cents or something like that every time you use Upside for the first month, 2 months. I don't know, whatever. But I do have a grievance against Taco John's. Raise your hand if you have a Taco John's in your area, or if you've ever eaten a Taco John's. Do a wavy emotion or something like that. Or just, no, better yet, a taco emoji over there in the chat. If you're watching this after it's live and you have ever eaten a Taco John's, just drop the taco emoji down in the chat. They gave me a survey after I ate there second to last time and asked what my opinion was. Here's my opinion. Your new cup sizes are ridiculous. The medium is now small. The small is now kid size. I'm paying the same price, getting probably 40% less soda. Now, if you're dining in, that's not a big deal because you just go back up and get a refill. Or like me, you sit in the parking lot and eat and go back in and they don't care. But if you're getting the drive-through or you're doing a true to-go order, that stinks. I mean, seriously, their medium cup used to be like this big. Now it's like this big. Just torques me off. Don Kim wants to try Taco John's. They started in Wyoming, oddly enough. You don't think of like, Wyoming tacos. But that is where they started. I think it's mostly a mountain states and Midwest thing. They might go as far south as Texas. Does anybody know of any Taco John's in the Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana region? Trade Winds Travel, Taco John's, check. LH Finances, check. Eating at Taco John's. Next Dugroz data point here. The Chase Amazon Prime Visa card is now giving a $200 sign-up bonus with no spend required. Now, this is assuming you already have a Prime account. It's not really an annual fee, but you have to have a Prime account to get the Prime card. For a long time, when I signed up, I've since canceled the card, and Chase doesn't like me right now, so I probably can't get it. But for a long time, it was a $100 Amazon gift card for your sign-on bonus. Now, and then it was up to 120 for a while. Now it's up to 200. So if you're thinking about getting the Amazon Prime Visa, now is the time. Here's a personal data point. So earlier I mentioned my failure with Wings Federal Credit Union and the bank account bonus. I did have a success. Player 2, with my help, signed up for a Capital One new 360 checking account bonus. I think I had to have 3 direct deposits of at least $500 or something like that, but it's done now. Got the $300. There it is, right there, $300. And I like how it says cha-ching, new account bonus. They do tell me right here they are going to give me a 1099 at the end of the year, which is pretty par for the course. Quick check of my credit history. Well, on Equifax, at least it's at 780. It looks like it went up a whole bunch here, but that's only 3 points. That's probably just a hard pull falling off. I only mention this because if there's any rookies watching and they're like, oh man, with all this credit card shenanigans, you must have a terrible credit score. No, it's pretty good. Although let's see what happens after we get through our theme of the day here. Vincent says, if you're going to the Charleston meetup, I am, you should start a barbershop quartet with John R., Joe, and anyone else. Or everyone could start a credit card musical. Hey, that's a great idea. Yeah, thank you for that. If you're really into a singing, let me know. Filmo says, a diehard meetup at Taco John's? That's a great idea. So when we have the first ever Dugroz Reports meetup in Des Moines, we're going to have to stay at the Holiday Inn in Urbandale that's connected to Bennigan's because we need to eat at Bennigan's. There's a Casey's right down the road, and Taco John's not too terribly far away, maybe 3 miles away from there. QC Man says, you think Chase hates you so much you couldn't get the Amazon card? They're pretty lenient with it. Watch the theme of the day. It's coming. We'll see what happens. You might be right. I haven't applied for that particular card in a long time. Public service announcement here. Hey, Doug, we're writing to remind you that we have made the decision to discontinue the Serve American Express prepaid debit account program. Let's look at the timeline. June 3rd, 2026, all Serve American Express prepaid debit accounts will be closed. That was 3 days ago, so bye-bye, sayonara, RIP, the American Express Serve card. At one time, this was really helpful for shenanigans, but with many changes, ended up not being that helpful. They do still have like a Visa and or MasterCard version out there, but at least the Amex version is now dead. Filmo clarifies that we also need milk, corn, and pork chops. Check, check, check. Yuri says the closest Taco John's is 55 miles away. Hey, all right. Fargonaut gives 6 tacos and a potato fillet, which is called 6-pack and a pound. It is. Man, that was huge, like when I was in high school and college. Yuri says, oh, Serve. I was using it a lot until they shut me down. Not surprised. Next, Dugroz data point here. We are close to the end. Somebody came up with a site from the same people who did Max My FHR, Fine Hotels Resorts, Edit Maxer. And the last 2 times I've tried the website, it was temporarily unavailable. I thought somewhere in my head I heard a comment like the Edit by Chase is getting mad at this site and trying to shut them down, but that may have just been somebody with pure speculation in the comments. But if anybody knows or has inside knowledge of Edit Maxer, why the website's been down a couple times recently. Now, admittedly, I took this screenshot well over a week ago, so it might be back up now. I haven't actually checked. If somebody wants to check while the live stream is going, let me know. It is nextcard.com/tools/chase-edit-hotel-map. Or you can just type in Edit Maxer into Google and click on the link and see what happens. 2 more rows and then we're done. I got this data point myself. PNC Bank currently has a small business checking account. This goes through the end of this month. You can earn either $400 or $1,000 when you open and use a new qualifying PNC business checking account. You have to open it by the end of the month. You don't have to meet the requirements by the end of the month. This is a pretty decent one and will come into play when we get into our theme of the day here. You earn $400 if you open your account by 6:30 and maintain at least $2,000 for the first 3 months and make at least 10 qualifying transactions. Usually a debit card transaction counts as a qualifying transaction. Do your own research, read the fine print like I didn't do with Wings to make sure. You can earn $1,000 if you want to maintain $30,000 for 3 months. Now that's a little beyond my capacity without having things I don't want to do. But the $2,000 one I can handle. So I'm thinking about doing that. Fair warning, just to let you know, this offer is only available to businesses with an annual revenue of less than $5 million. So yeah, I know that's going to rule out a lot of you guys, but just fair warning with that one. QC Man is here and gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. I really appreciate it. Thank you for controlling the quality with that. This is a bit ago, but like I said, I've missed 2 weeks. Cardless has been giving large unsolicited credit limit increases on the built Palladium cards. So it seems like everyone who has had this has had their credit limit brought up to $50,000. Doctor of Credit gave an update that this was because a lot of people complained about small credit limits, and Built got together with Cardless and jumped, maybe not everyone, but lots of people up to a $50,000 credit limit on their Palladium card. Any of you have that happen where you just out of the blue got a credit limit increase on your Palladium? And if you did it go up to 50,000? Caldern says John R. has a singing background. That's good to know. He was in the Edge of Rewards. I don't know if you remember that. Let me go to the Bandcamp site and show you what I mean by that. So yeah, if you go to dugroz.bandcamp.com, you can see right there, me, John, Chad, and Cesar got together. This was back in the 90s. We had a boy band together. We did some singing. So yeah, I know about John's background. Brian Cosgrove says, I use PNC for business. They've been pretty great. Their business options card gave me a $100,000 credit limit, and they gave a solid line of credit for my business. That's good to know. I had one good experience with PNC, one bad experience with PNC. I'm trustee for my parents because they're in terrible health and can't handle their own finances. And about 3 years ago, I opened a PNC account with a debit card online for my dad, just because I needed a card that gave a couple, 3 ATM reimbursements every month, and theirs did. Sorry, I got distracted by something. Let me back up and start that story over again. I need to not look at comments that are unrelated while telling my stories. 2 experiences with PNC. One was good, one was bad. The good one was I was able to open a debit card with a basic online checking account for free for my parents, and it would reimburse at least 2 ATM fees per month. So there's ATM right next to where they used to live in assisted living. It was a third-party bank, Lincoln Savings Bank. There will be a mention of that in the main event. And charged $1.50 for ATM withdrawals, and it would get reimbursed at the end of the month. So that was helpful. No minimums or anything. You just have the account. The bad experience was I applied for a PNC credit card for my dad, and when I think it went to recon and they asked me to call in, so I called in on behalf of my dad. I'm like, yeah, I'm his son and power of attorney. And they said, oh, we'll have to speak with Mr. Rose. And I said, well, you don't understand. I'm his power of attorney. I understand you can't just take my word for it, but I've worked in, insurance and finance for a long time. I'll need to fax you or email you the power of attorney. Your legal team will review it, and then you can have permission to talk to me. And they're like, no, I have to talk to Mr. Rose. I'm like, well, his hearing is really bad. Oh, we can use a sign language relay service. It's not like that. He has all these health problems. They refuse to speak to me even though I have power of attorney. I'm pretty sure that's a straight up violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. But it's one of those things where there's lots of banks out there, and I don't want to take the time to file a formal complaint. So I just gave my business to someone else. I think we ended up going with PenFed instead. But so one good experience with PNC, one bad experience. Brian Cosgrove had a good experience. By the way, I don't think we've met before, Brian. Or if we have, I don't remember your avatar. Thank you so much for hopping on board. But yeah, I'm going to try it, I think, TBD. Interestingly, I've seen things before that they will only open accounts for you if you live in certain states, and I was not one of them. But I was able to get that thing for my dad, and the bank account bonus says it's nationwide. So I don't know what the deal is with that. If anybody has opened PNC credit cards in Iowa, please speak up. John says, I love to sing. I love music. Absolutely. I know. Remember, we were in that boy band together. Sleepy Rod said, mine did go to 50K. Should I be mad? No, you should be happy. Cesar reminds everyone to hit thumbs up to support Doug. And hey, we just went up to 85 people on board. Awesome. Great timing. John, do you do karaoke? Vincent's idea for Filmo's first video, backdoor pilot to credit card musical. Absolutely. Brian Cosgrove, I'm sorry, that's pretty lame. I'm assuming you're talking about PNC not letting me speak on my dad's behalf. John does not do karaoke. QC Man says, were you applying for the 2% PNC card when it had a sub? Yes, I believe we were. Either that or it was one of those like 2, 3, 4 cards where it's like 2% on groceries, 3% on gas, 4% on dining, or something like that. I don't remember which card it was, but it was something along those lines. Update. Blade terms deleted. Built cash register for Blade will be a fixed $350 amount, even if the flight cost is cheaper. This is Hap Tip Frequent Miler. This was just amusing to me. You can use your Blade, or excuse me, you can use your built cash on a Blade helicopter ride in the 3 or 4 places they have those. I think one is in Nice, France, one is in Manhattan. Don't remember where the third one is. The terms and conditions specifically said, once you use it, you get a credit up to $350. If the Blade helicopter ride costs less than $350, you do not get to keep the difference and use it later. Stephen Pepper from Frequent Miler pointed that out in a post. Richard Kerr of Built commented on that article and said, this is not accurate or true. No announcement has been made yet. And Stephen said very respectfully, Richard, could you tell me what specifically indicates it's not true? This was taken directly from your Built website, and then he copied, screenshotted the terms and conditions that said that. Well, apparently about a week later, the people at Built deleted that section from the terms and conditions. So right now, do you get to keep your balance if you get a Blade helicopter ride less than $350? I don't know. Just another example where many people have said, man, the earnings on Built are great, but you got to put up with some weird stuff, like where they don't even know their own terms and conditions. Travel Fan says, Bank of America did the same with me and my dad, trying to be added to his account as an additional person on his checking account. I'll never do business again with Bank of America. Yeah, sometimes one bad experience can deter you. I had a bad experience with Citi, and gladly it didn't deter me. I'll still take advantage of PNC, and I think it depends on the type of thing you're doing. I was listening to Frequent Milers Ask Us Anything, and Tim Stanky from Frequent Miler said something like his biggest regret was he got mad at Citi for something and canceled his Prestige card, and has regretted it ever since, because now it's closed to new applicants and he can't re-get it. And he said this business is purely transactional. Now, something like that, where you're trying to deal with like a disabled family member, the level of rage is more justified in my mind. I will give a hat tip to US Bank. I've made fun of them for being bad at technology, and they are, but they are a very relational bank. I was able to get additive power of attorney to my parents' accounts at US Bank fairly painlessly, and the banker that I spoke to not only knew how to do it, she was fast and competent. So thumbs up on that one, US Bank. Moving along here. While I was doing my APP-O-RAMA and looking at different credit cards, that included a segment where I was looking at lots of different local credit unions. And there's one here in Iowa called Affinity Credit Union. And talking about how great their credit card is, it's not. They did a comparison with 4 other issuers: Discover, Chase, Credit One, and Capital One. Discover really only has the one card, that they're mostly known for. With Chase, at least they said Freedom Unlimited. Credit One, they didn't specify, and Capital One, they didn't specify. So it's like, yeah, our card has a $0 annual fee. Theirs has a $95 annual fee. As if Capital One only has one credit card. I mean, sure, yeah, if you're comparing it to the Venture, it probably is a $95 annual fee, but you can also get a Saver for no annual fee. You can get a Venture One for no annual fee. You can get a Quicksilver for no annual fee. You can get whatever we don't have any rewards. This is just a balance transfer card is. I think they call it the Platinum with no annual fee. So shame on you, Affinity Credit Union here in Iowa. Let's be a little more truthful with our product comparisons, but that kind of stuff happens all the time. There is a current offer out on the Venture business card. I'm not talking about the Capital One Venture X business card, just the Venture business card. This is the $95 card. It used to be called the Spark Miles. It was rebranded recently. The offer is up to 150,000 points, which is a lot. But if I remember correctly, and this may or may not be right, but roll with me here, I think it's if you spend $7,500 in the first 3 months, you get 75,000 points. If you spend $30,000 total, not on top of the 7,500, but inclusive of the 7,500. Then they jump that up to 150K. And I think you have an additional 3 months, in other words, 6 months total to hit that higher tranche, to use Sebi's favorite word. Tranche. We're fancy. This offer ends on 6/8, and I'll come back to this during the theme of the day, but it was important enough I wanted to mention it here because I know there are a few people, shocking I know, who only watch the data points and then log off for everything else. Vincent says, speaking of US Bank, and at least 2 credit card YouTubers received a mailer announcing that the Amex Amazon Business Prime will be moving to US Bank. I saw multiple sources citing that, so that's already happened, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Travel Fan donates $1.49. Celebrate. Thank you. And you know what happens when you donate $1.49? You get some Dugroz points. You get 1,000 Dugroz points. So it's right here in my glasses cleaner. Let me spray it at you. There you go. There's your 1,000 points. Don't spend them all in one place. By the way, Vincent, thank you for pointing that out, even though it is something I already was aware of. I apologize if I sounded kind of hoity-toity, like I already knew that. My bad. Thank you for pointing it out. New Again says, Built and Cardless aren't serious companies. Agree. Brian says, yes, I have this Venture Biz sub. That's a quality sub. Did you go for the first tranche or did you go for both tranches? QC Man says, I got that Amazon mailer too. It has some interesting 2% categories, but of course you get a 2% cash back card for those anyway. Yeah, I've seen several credit cards that are like, don't forget, we also have 2% cash back on dining, 1% everywhere else. I'm like, there's a lot of no annual fee cards that are 2% everywhere, period. So that's not that exciting. We're in the home stretch, folks. We're in the home stretch. Experian. Have you ever used Experian? They're one of the credit agencies. They have a feature called Credit Lock where you can just log into your account and push a button to lock your credit for a while. And I've used that in the past. But for the first time ever when I did this or wanted to do it, it said, upgrade to lock your file. And to do at least the quick and easy lock, I realize you could call in and stuff, but like the kind where you just click a button online, you have to have a paid account with Experian. It's like $7 a month or something. I'm like, shame on you, Experian. Shame. Took away a feature and make us pay for it. Naughty. Someone sent me this. I don't remember who. Was it you, Matt Clausen? Was it somebody else? Speak up if you're the person that sent me this screenshot. Somebody showed me how the new Pays connection with Chase credit cards work. This one was specifically the CSR, Chase Sapphire Reserve. Somebody booked $661 worth of United Airlines flights and got 4x off flights, so that must have been a CSR. And then on top of that, they got 6,619 points from the Pays offer. Look at that. That's 10x. So functionally, 14x on airfare, which at least with United, you can book using Pays. So, man, if you're doing some paid airfare and you've got a CSR and you're booking on United, make sure you use Pays, P-A-Z-E, as your payment method. And somebody can remind me if this Pays bonus offer is indefinite or if it has a sunset date on them. Solid Liquid Fox wants to know if US Bank transfer partners are coming or nah. I'm going to say between now and Thanksgiving, nah. In Billy Joe's song, For the Longest Time, the janitor walks in and says, you kids going to be much longer? And Billy Joel says, nah, not much longer. I don't know why, but my kids and I use that line a lot. Like, hey, are you going to be at the beach very much longer? Nah, not much longer. Will they ever come? I'd say 65% chance, yes. Coder says, are Capital One business cards as hard to get as their personal ones? Stay tuned. Theme of the day. Jazz fan shames Experian as well. But can you still do the Experian freeze for free? I don't know. If it's possible, you'd have to call. You can no longer do it online. If anybody knows by calling, let me know. Brian says, Experian free iOS app let me freeze and unfreeze for free. How recently was that? Was that like within the last 2 weeks? Because I'm wondering if it changed. I don't know for sure. You might be right. Double says Pays ends this year, December 31st. Good to know. Yuri confirms Pays is through year end. I never pay for tickets though. Brian tested it just now. Okay, so Experian, that's even more shameful. If you do it on the desktop site, you have to pay for the feature. If you do it in the app, it's free. That is just trying to trick people into paying for stuff. That's very jerk-worthy. Travel Fan said, if you had your credit exposed by Equifax, they gave you free 4 years of paid Experian membership. That's weird that Equifax gives you Experian membership for free. I took advantage of that over the $100 one-time payment. Oh, okay. Yeah, that might be worth doing. Coder says credit lock is different than credit freeze. Credit freeze is still online. Well, I didn't know that. What's the difference? Double says, with the shenanigans that are happening, I wonder if Pays 10X gets nerfed in some way before year end, like only 1.5K per card member per card or a lower multiplier. New Again says, file freezes are free with the credit bureaus, but file locks are paid. What's the difference? I need someone to explain the difference to me. Coder says it's still a dark pattern, though. Jazz wants to know the exact same thing. Double says, Experian allows you to freeze your credit for free, but the option is kind of hidden on purpose. Yeah, if there is an easier to find option, I mean, like when you want to like not have your credit reported because you're applying for a Capital One card that reports to all 3 credit bureaus, you would assume it's this option right here. It's huge. It's right on the main screen. So if they have if they have the freeze option somewhere else. New Again says digital products are dark patterns. Also news. Dog bites man. Sorry about the throat clearing. Here's a data point that I mentioned earlier. I donated some points for my pastor to fly to Peru. He also got a Chase card fairly recently and asked me, hey, Doug, do I have to notify them if I'm going to be traveling outside the country and using my Chase card? Well, I Googled it. The answer is no. You do not need to notify Chase Bank when you travel internationally. Because of advanced fraud detection, Chase generally no longer accepts or requires travel notices. Then it gives some general tips on how not to be dumb, set up 2-factor authentication, make sure your mobile device is set up to alert you, that kind of stuff. If you're using a virtual SIM card or a real SIM card that's different than your normal number overseas, make sure you have that set up as an alternate number, that kind of stuff. Coder said, I did a unfreeze on the website just now. Okay, well, I'll have to look for that. Thank you for the tip. And hopefully the 92 people on board learned from this. Wow, 92 people. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Final Dugroz data point here. I'd mentioned bandcamp.com. This is the more smooth AI-enhanced version of the quartet song that I sang on my last video called The City Quartet. If you go to dugroz.bandcamp.com, you can find it there. You can download it as a single for $1.62, and then you can have it on Apple Music or whatever your favorite platform is, those kind of things. Check it out, dugroz.bandcamp.com. There are other songs you can get there as well. That's what it looks like. There's where all my music goes. 2 are serious. Everything else is a parody. I've got more coming in the very near future. Okay, well, with that in mind then, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Travel Fan 11 says, credit freeze takes a little more time to lock/unlock and requires more personal. Why did I hit the mute button? I think I coughed or something. Thank you, QC man. Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, John. Thank you, Texas Dog. I appreciate that. Sometimes I just have these moments, I guess you'd say, brain farts. Travel Fan says, lock/unlock is immediate. It doesn't require additional personal info. I am back with audio. Thank you. I'll look into the lock versus unlock versus credit freeze topic here. I'm taking a screenshot of myself right now. Thank you, Cesar. All right. So I'm going to hold the comments there. I'm going to do a bathroom break. And when I come back, we're going to talk about the theme of the day. The 96 of you who are on board, please stay tuned. and we will talk about my APP-O-RAMA, me applying for lots of different credit cards, all in this calendar quarter and how that went. I think you'll really like it. But instead of making you look at the wall, I'm going to give you a little treat here. Have you ever wished that there was a way to win points and miles? Not earn, but win, like a game show or something like that, where you could compete and win points and miles? Well, did you know that in the Dugroz alternate reality, back in the 1970s, there actually was a game show where you could win points and miles? It was called the 1 Million Point Challenge. And for about 5 or 6 years, it was the most popular game show in all of America. Well, thanks to the modern technology marvel, you can now experience what it was like to be an audience member right there, 1976, watching the 1 Million Point Challenge. So while I take the intermission biology break, I hope you enjoy the 1 Million Point Challenge presented by Dugroz Reports. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 1 Million Point Challenge, America's only game show that tests your knowledge of credit card rewards. Our contestants will go head-to-head, working their way up the giant board, but only one will make it to the bonus round. There, they'll have the chance to prove their ultimate points and miles knowledge and win 1 million points in the transferable credit card ecosystem of their choosing. Now, let's meet our contestants. He's an accountant from Alameda, California. Welcome, John! She's a legal secretary from Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome, Holly! And now, here's your host, Caroline Crest!
Hi, everyone! Let's play the 1 Million Point Challenge! Step right up and take your place. There's a giant board and a smiling face. Every category, every card. The questions start easy, then they get hard. Earn your way from the bottom row. Watch those points begin to grow. 10,000, 50, 100 grand. The bonus round is close at hand. 1 million points on the board tonight. Transfer them anywhere you like. No blackout dates, no expiration. Just you and your imagination. Chase or MX Capital One. Pick your ecosystem, here we come. 1 million points, the ultimate win for the sharpest mind. Let the transfers begin.
Annual fees in the 524. Minimum spend.
Do you know the score? Transfer partners, portal rates.
Which card gets you through the gates?
Spend categories.
Do you know them all?
One wrong answer and you're gonna fall.
But play it right and you'll hear them say, you're heading to the plane today.
1 million points on the board tonight. Transfer them anywhere you like. No blackout dates, no expiration. Just you and your imagination.
City, Chase, Wells Fargo, and Built.
Booking the greatest flights without guilt. 1 million points, the ultimate win for the sharpest mind. Let the transfers begin.
This is it, the final round.
1 million points to be found.
16 seconds on the clock.
Show us everything you've got.
Transfer partners, name them fast.
Make every single answer last.
The board lights up, the crowd goes wild.
This is the moment worth every mile. 1 million points on the board tonight.
Remember, folks, in points and miles, be the data point you want to see.
Whoa, hope you enjoyed that trip back in time. Remember that? The 1 million point challenge? Oh, those were good times. Good times. Thank you to everyone. 85 people stuck on through the break. We're going to get into the theme of the day in just a few moments here. I will catch up on comments, though. Rewards Master is here. How you doing, Rewards Master? Signing in for a few minutes. We're doing a barbecue giveaway at church this morning. Hey, all right. Not quite as good as 1 million points, but I would take it. Jim B. Comments says, she sounds great. She should sing the next James Bond movie theme song. I agree. I'm a huge fan of Caroline Crisp. I mean, who isn't? You know what I mean? Vincent says, you already have the makings of a credit card musical. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I just have to learn how to use video AI instead of just still pictures. Fargonaut says, I've been using Chase, Amex, Capital One. Pick your ecosystem. Here we come. Cards and apps in Europe with a VPN and without. The only issue I saw was I lost the free credit score lookup on one of the apps. That's good to know. Do you use the kind of, well, VPN is different than a SIM card. So I was going to say, do you have the kind with a different phone number, but that wouldn't apply. Never mind. Okay, who's ready for the theme of the day today? Well, I got to share my screen here. It'll take me just a moment if you'll bear with me. Sorry for the delay. Big screen. There we go. And I've been in the habit of turning some of my live streams into standalone videos lately. So in the spirit of possibly doing that, I'm going to take my asthma inhaler and I'm going to do the countdown. Bear with me just a second, folks. Five, four, three. Today's theme of the day, my second quarter 2026 APP-O-RAMA. So if you look at the pictures here in on the screen, my diehards will know this because I talked about it in one of my members only videos. Click join down below. Some home repairs are happening in the Dugroz household this summer. Bottom left picture, we got a furnace and water heater. This isn't a picture of mine. These are just stock photos, but we have actually had a new furnace and water heater installed less than 3 weeks ago. That is now working. In fact, it's a little cold in here right now. Middle picture is a roof. We need a new roof on our house. That will be happening probably within a month. And then by no later than mid-fall, also plan to put a new deck on the house. We have a decent view in our backyard. Not quite as nice as the one in the picture, but it sure would be nice to enjoy the view. Our current deck is basically 25 years old and is starting to fall down at this point. So with that in mind, I don't have all the money needed to do all of those things just laying around in a pile of cash in my garage. Instead, I am doing a home equity line of credit, and I've already secured that home equity line of credit. This is a $60,000 credit limit. That's the maximum I can draw off of it. The national average for a HELOC, that's the abbreviation for home equity line of credit, is between 7.2% and 7.5% as of June 2026, according to bankrate.com. Mine was locked in at 6.24% in May. This was with a local credit union where I already had a relationship. And I think because it's a credit union, because it's local, got a slightly better rate. Now, don't get me wrong. That's not like amazing or like, you know, blow the roof off. My first mortgage is 3.125%. So it's almost double that. But I digress. Yeah. So what do we know about buying things like decks and furnaces and new roofs? Spend opportunity. So yeah, I could take the money directly off the line of credit, put it in my bank account and then write a check or use a debit card. But who wants to do that? We want to earn some rewards here. Leon knows, remember him from a few videos ago, that when you live in a place like Des Moines, Iowa, that has a lower cost of living, but also you get lower income compared to a place like his brother Richard, who lives out in Los Angeles, you don't have as many spend opportunities because you're living in a low cost of living area. You're being a little more frugal. Therefore, it's more important than ever when these big opportunities to run big bucks through your credit card comes through to make sure you're actually doing that. And as we all know, the best way to do that is not necessarily with everyday spend, but rather with new account sign-up bonuses. So with that in mind, I have some goals for this process. I want to get at least one massive sub. We're talking north of 125,000 points. Maybe more than one, but at least one. I would like to get $20,000 or more in 0% APR. And I've got some logic on that. It would be great if some of it was greater than 12 months, like a 15-month or an 18-month. Well, I went a little too quickly with that next point. So if we think about that $20,000, I've got about half and half. First of all, don't worry. Dugroz is very careful with not paying interest on credit cards. So it's not like I'm in a position where it's like, oh my goodness, I have, this debt with a 19% interest rate and I'm just hoping to get a better rate. No, it's not like that. Since I got into the points and miles game 7 years ago in 2019, I have paid exactly $0 in credit card interest because I'm kind of slightly anal about these things. I check all my statements and knock on wood, so far nothing slipped through the cracks. I haven't had any late payments or anything that caused me to owe interest on credit cards. Now, like I've had a car loan, I had a personal loan for a little while. I don't anymore. I have a home equity loan as of a few days ago where I'm going to pay some interest. But in terms of credit cards not paying any interest, about half of that $20,000, so $8,000 to $10,000, something like that, is on an item that is currently on a 0% card, and I just want to continue that for cash flow purposes. I could pay it off by dipping into some things that I really don't want to dip into, like investment accounts, that kind of stuff. Obviously, don't want to dip into your IRA, 401k. That's a bad idea. So if I can move that onto another 0% card and spread those payments out, that would be awesome. And then the other half, the other $10,000, just sort of a goal in my head of like, instead of drawing from that home equity line and paying 6-point-something%, why not just pay no interest for the first year? Obviously, I'll have to make the minimum payments on the card, but if I can just sort of like let it sit there and earn, even if I earn 3% interest instead of paying 6% interest, that's like a 9% spread on $10,000. That's like $900. That's almost like a sign-up bonus right there. Just the difference between what I would pay and what I'm earning. And then another goal is I would like to run about $35,000, maybe a little more, of spend through credit cards. And what I mean by that is if we think a third, furnace and water heater, a little over $10,000. Roof, right at $10,000. Deck's probably going to be a little over $10,000. So you put those three things together, I'm estimating $35,000 minimum, and I would like to run all of it through credit cards if possible, and preferably in either a sign-up bonus or in a 0% interest type situation where the 0% interest kind of almost becomes a sub. The other goal is I would like to, if possible, do all of this on business cards. There is one exception to that, and I'll get to that exception in just a little bit. The logic for the all business cards is right now I'm sitting at 324. Coming into this, I was sitting at 324, and my next drop-off isn't until September of 2027. So in September of 2025, is when I applied for a card, then another one like November, then I think I applied for the City Strata Elite in December of just last year. So I've got a ways to go before those 524s start falling off. I'd like to keep my options open. So with that one exception, I'll go up to 424. But just in case like a new amazing card comes along, like if Wells Fargo ever releases their much anticipated card, I want to be able to jump on a once in a lifetime type opportunity. So I want to stay under 524 just in case. I realize Wells Fargo doesn't use 524. I mean, shoot, you could say, I'm not even sure Chase uses 524 anymore, but it's still kind of a good benchmark. Now, with that in mind, Leon knows one card with a massive spend requirement might not work. So if we think about like the Sapphire Business, which has a $30,000 spending requirement, or the Capital One Venture X Business, which is either $20,000 or $30,000, those won't work because, well, the reason is those cards likely won't approve me. You'll see why in a little bit. But also, you can't get the combination of a huge sign-up bonus and 0% APR usually. Usually either get a huge sign-up bonus or a smaller sign-up bonus and 0% APR. I don't know of any cards that really combine both. Every once in a while, you might get lucky with like a targeted offer on the Blue Business Cash or the Blue Business Preferred from Amex. But other than that, those two things don't normally go together. So don't be looking at like a Sapphire Business, Capital One Venture X Business, those kinds of things. I have tried 11 cards. So there's 11 cards that I tried to apply for. Not all of those were an actual application. It gets a little fuzzy when you have things like pop-up windows. We'll get into that a little bit. But we're going to look at 11 cards here. And I'm going to pause now for just a few moments and catch up on the comments. Oh, got a lot of comments. New again asking Fargonaut about the VPN that he recommends. Yuri uses one. Texas Dog uses NordVPN. That's what everyone recognizes or advertises. Fargonaut says, no notification to any banks. I tried a VPN with a dedicated IP and using shared VPN IPs. QC Man says, you had the money for bears hidden in your roof, but it got destroyed by water damage. Bad luck. That's it. That's exactly what happened. Sleepy Rod wants to know if the CSR business card would work. Nope. I'm sure you wrote that comment before I gave my disclaimers. Rita Copeland says, that was fantastic. I'm assuming you mean the 1 million point challenge. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. And thanks for watching, Rita. Coder says, Business Platinum is my guess for one of the massive subs. Close. Ian says, Chase 100% still uses 524. I've called Recon twice in the last 2 months, and they have both said 524 explicitly. If that's correct, then they have like two standards now. They have 524, and in addition to that, they have their own pop-up windows. We'll get into that in a little bit. Sleepy Rod says Wells Fargo does, in fact, use 524. I didn't know that. QCM says, does Wells actually use 524 or something similar? I know Luke said once, there's some people out there who say Wells has like a 212 rule, and he said, that's not true. I've gotten more than that. Or 1.6 or something along those lines. I'm not sure. I've never really tested it. Oops, I forgot to hit mute before I blew my nose. Sorry if you heard that. Thank you to the 75 people who have stayed on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. Any gift, big or small, super chat, super sticker, membership donated, joining as a member, tip jar tip, going over to dugroz.bandcamp.com and buying a song. All those things help. If you do buy something from Bandcamp, speak up. I'd like to know who you are so I can give you props on that. All right, back to the theme of the day here. That time I remembered to hit mute. So, 5, 4, 3. We're going to go over all 11 of those cards. Number 1, the Amex Business Gold card. Now, if you've been watching my channel any length of time, you probably already knew about this one. This was earlier in the quarter. Player 2, my wife, got targeted for 200,000 MR points after spending $15,000 in the first 3 months. I would consider 200,000 points to be pretty massive. Even though the spending requirement is lower than the Venture X for Business and the Capital One CSR. No, the Venture X for Business and the Chase CSR for Business. Both of those have 150,000 point sign-up bonuses. This one has 200,000. Much, well, that'd be 25% bigger, 33% bigger, something like that. It's bigger. Within the first 3 months, you have to spend $15,000. Already applied for this one. This was earlier in the quarter, and I think I applied actually back in the last week of April, something like that. Put in the application. Thank you. We've received your information. Approved. You'll receive your new card by May 2nd. So off to a great start. I'm going to keep track of how many I have applied for, how many were successful, or the way around, successful, applied for, and how many pulls were on either my credit report or my wife's credit report. So we're 1 for 1, 0 pulls. That is perfection. You can't get any better than that. The reason why there's no pull, and many of you already know this, is because American Express generally uses soft pulls only after your first approval. In my case, I'm pretty sure it was my first personal card approved, my first business card approved. Same thing with my wife. Those are all in the past. We've both had personal business cards before, so there was no need to do a hard pull, which was great. This was a targeted mail. It actually came in the mail with a code, so we knew the approval odds were pretty well guaranteed. I tried doing it as a refer a friend, but it ended up being 150,000 instead of 200,000. So that plus the 20,000 refer a friend is only 180,000. So it's actually better to do the 200,000 targeted offer on that particular one. This one, we've almost met the spending requirement. Put the entirety of the furnace purchase on it, some other personal items, and I've got around $300 left to go. So in a few days, my next auto and home insurance bill is going to come due. We're going to put it on this, and bing, 200,000 Amex points richer we shall be. Now, technically, she shall be, but we share. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I'll pause and catch up on comments here. Texas Dog likes something I said. Fargo uses paid NordVPN. Frequent Miler has a 524 rule under Wells Fargo's credit card approval rules. Luke says, if I was a betting man, I'd say Wells uses 624. New Again says Wells has a bunch of policies and they're not really clear. Coder Carell gifts 5 Dugroz Reports memberships. Whoa, celebrate. Just as good as a $3 chat each. So that's $15 worth of donations. I appreciate it. Luke says during promotions, all those rules get loose. Yeah, like if Wells releases a new high-end card, I bet you that gets pretty loose. QC Man thanking Coder for the donations, and I thank him as well. Source King says Chase Recon laughed at my LOL 24. Brad Groover donates $4.99. Celebrate. Thank you, Brad. And if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, please let me know. There's his avatar. I think this is the first time we've met. Thanks for hopping on board. Thanks for donating. First time catching your live, as recommended by Luke. Loving what I'm seeing so far. Glad to hear it. Big Kurt says $2 super chat. Celebrate. Good analysis. Thank you. Appreciate that. There's a lot more to go. I'm only down 1 out of 11 cards. Coder says I have close to 500,000 with Wells, and they want to approve me for the autograph Visa Infinite, despite what my banker told me. LOL. They're definitely account and inquiry sensitive. Well, that stinks. That's the autograph journey superpower, but it's really the same card with a bigger sign-up bonus that only premium customers can get. Coder says Amex business cards are great. No hard pull and not showing up in your credit are solid. Yeah, I love business credit cards because it's almost like you have these secret things that the other companies don't know about. Hermuntz is here and says 5, 4, 3. I'm on board. Finally made it. Great. Thanks for being on board. You'll probably see this in about an hour and 38 minutes. That's assuming you're watching from the beginning. Maybe you're not. Let's see. QC Man says, if Amex still had that Hawaiian to Alaska hack, I'm sure your 200,000 would be going there. Yes, it would, but they don't anymore. Fargonaut says, I probably received more 2-factor requests than at home. This is his VPN overseas, but that's hard to measure. I'm not seeing a pattern in those. Texas Dog says, I laugh when you do 5, 4, 3. It reminds me of the hippies on Wayne's World that kept saying 2, 1. I don't remember that part, but I hear what you're saying. All right. Let's share my screen again and keep going here. Man, my asthma's doing bad this morning, guys. Sorry about that. Resuming in 5, 4, 3. So the goal has been met of 1 massive sub already. I do consider 200,000 points to be plenty massive. So that's good. Now it's time to work on the 0% goal, or goals, whether or not I can get it all in one card. Remember, we wanted to get $20,000 of 0% stuff. So I already advanced the screen here. Number 2, the business cash from Chase, the Inc. business cash. And you're probably thinking, but Doug, weren't you denied for one of those just about 4 or 5 months ago? I was. But I'm like, they've got that new pop-up thing now, or something similar to the pop-up. Let's just try it and see what happens. I mean, it can't hurt. For the record, right now I have 2 Chase business cards. I have an Inc. Cash and an Inc. Unlimited. So why not get another one? It offers 0% APR for a while. To be more specific, it also has a $750 cash sign-up bonus, which is really paid as 75,000 ultimate reward points, which would be better. You have to spend $6,000 in the first 3 months, and it would be 0%. So that would be not massive, but a pretty good sign-up bonus combined with 0% APR. Probably if you're thinking sign-up bonus, APR, 0% in tandem, that plus Amex on the Blue Business Plus Blue Business Cash have the best ones. Coughing fit. Continuing in 5, 4, 3. So I put in the application. It looks like you're not eligible for a bonus for a Chase business credit card. This can happen if you've had the card before. Customers who are applying for a business card without an annual fee or have held this card are also ineligible. So I can either continue with no bonus, that also means no 0% APR, or cancel the application. Of course, I canceled the application. So I am now sitting at 1 out of 2, 1 success, 1 failure, so 2 total attempts. But the good news is, since it was a canceled application, it wasn't an actual hard pull. So I'm still at 0 pulls at least. All right, we're batting 50-50. Next up, number 3. Let's go back to Amex and see what happens. So the Amex Blue Business Cash, this is the card that gives 2% cash back on everything, 0% APR for the first year. I believe the 2% cash back is up to $50,000 of spend. Beyond that, it is 1% back on everything else. I have had this card before. I do not have it right now. By the way, all the applications from now on are going to be in my name. Only the very first one was in my wife's name, and I'll talk about why at the end of the conversation here. But a quick preview is part of the thought process is if I'm having a lot of inquiries, a lot of hard pulls, I might as well just do them all at once and get them over with so that they all fall off at the same time. So normally with an Amex card, it's a once-in-a-lifetime sign-up bonus. Well, lifetime's really more like 7 to 12 years, but it's been less than 7 years, so I don't think I would apply. But I don't think I would qualify. But for a while, there were no lifetime language links floating around. I was able to find one from April on Doctor of Credit. Kind of hoped that it was still relevant. And again, $250 is a sign-up bonus after spending $5,000 a 6 month. That's nice that they give you 6 months, not bad, and 0% for 12 months. So you click on the no lifetime language link, and then there's like a thing that says sign in to see if you're pre-qualified. And it did not pre-qualify me. I was not eligible for the no lifetime language link. So then I went back and tried just kind of another Hail Mary, applying the traditional route, and it gave me pop-up jail or pop-up prison. We're sorry, we can't extend this offer to you. You will not get the sign-up bonus. You will not get the 0% offer on balance transfers or purchases. But you can still open the card if you want with no sign-up bonus and no APR. Do you want to do that? And I'm like, no. So again, I withdrew the application. I'm now betting 1 for 3. I'm at 33.3%. The good news is, again, because this was a withdrawn application, and Amex wouldn't have pulled my credit anyway, probably. No hard pulls so far. Next up, number 4, the Fairwinds Credit Union Business Visa Card. So you've probably heard a friend of the channel, probably still on board right now, Uncle Luke, talking about his Fairwinds Visa Signature Card, which is on the personal side and sort of one of those beloved, slightly obscure credit union cards, which has some really interesting redemptions on things like Southwest and Delta gift cards. And I'm like, yeah, I was actually on Discord chatting with Matt Clausen, and he recommended giving this a shot. So I'm like, yeah, I bet it's the same rewards program. So I looked into Fairwinds. They actually have 2 credit cards that are basically clones of each other on the business side. It's just that one is pure cash back, one is points. So you either earn 1.5% cash back or 1.5 points. You either get $500 as your sign-up bonus or 50,000 points, which are the same thing if you think of penny points. And you have to spend $5,000 in 90 days. That's a pretty decent sign-up bonus. That's 10%. And it has 0% APR for the first 12 months. So, hey, not a massive sign-up bonus, but a solid sign-up bonus. A year of APR. I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I went for the business rewards Visa card because I wanted to play around with their, portal for like booking travel and that kind of stuff. And even if I only got a penny per point, if I get better than a penny per point occasionally, my thought was I'll come out ahead. So I went ahead and went through the process with Fairwinds, got to the very last step. So like name, social security number, address, date of birth, business structure, your code for your business revenue, all that stuff. And the very last step told me this. Thank you for considering us for your financial services needs. We are sorry that we cannot continue with your application for the following reason. Your business must be registered in the state of Florida. And the way it was worded, I think they were going to make me show proof, like mail in or fax in, like my business registration. No idea how that works with a sole proprietorship, but I live in Iowa, not Florida, so I'm not getting around that. The only 2 options were return to application or cancel application. There was no submit anyway button. If you hit return to application, it just went back and you could change your state of registration. But again, I don't think that would have worked. I'm like 95% sure because I would have had to show proof that even though I live in Iowa, my business is registered in Florida, which probably sounds really weird. So eventually I hit cancel application. So apparently with the personal cards from Fairwinds Credit Union, you do not have to live in Florida. It's not geofenced. But with business cards, you have to be a Florida resident or at least have your business registered in the state of Florida. Again, I never actually went all the way through and hit submit. So this was a withdrawn application, not a hard pull. So I'm still at 0 hard pulls. That's good news. But I am batting 25%. I'm only 1 for 4. Got the Amex Business Gold with my wife's targeted offer. Nothing else has worked out. Boy, we've got to increase that percentage a little bit here. Let's see. Starting to hit desperation mode a little bit. I'll pause there and catch up on comments real quick. Probably got quite a few as I'm blasting through this. 87 people on board. Keep clicking your thumbs up button. That'll drive more people in here. We briefly exceeded 90, and I saw 99 at one point. Has anybody seen 100 people on board? I would love to get up to 100. Let me know if you happen to see that. More information on Fargonaut's VPN here. Girasano says, Player 1 applied for the Ink Preferred with Ink Unlimited open. No pop-up. Denial due to 524, despite one of those being the Ink in 2024. Called Recon, no luck. Is it really because one of those was an Ink and therefore you should only be at 424? Because on the pop-up window I saw it said, if you've ever had a sign-up bonus before on any of the no annual fee cards. So, but Ink Preferred is not the no annual fee card. So yeah. I guess that would reinforce the concept. That's a great data point, Girasano. So kind of like what I think it was Ian said earlier, they have 2 standards now. They have the 524 standard, but on top of that, they also have the pop-up type standard where they can deny you for whatever. No more Ink Train. No more getting the CIC more than once. QC Man always laughs out loud at the "but Doug" voice. Sleepy Rod says, you didn't want a second Ink Cash just for fun? No, because that would have been another hard pull. Real Rewards Guru says, hello all. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you on board. DEM says, you can register your business as a foreign entity in Florida through a registered agent. It's cheap and easy. Good to know, but when I was applying at like 11 o'clock at night, I had no idea how to do that. So I am now screenshotting that. Thank you, DEM. And at the very end, maybe in my what do I do now, I can come back to that. Texas says, maybe you could have registered a DBA in a Florida city. In Houston, a DBA costs $5. Not bad, not bad. Let's see how the rest of my applications go, and then we can come back to that topic. Thank you so much to the 89 people who stayed on board. Does somebody want to do the this many people on board, but only this many people have clicked thumbs up thing? That would be pretty cool. All right. Back to the APP-O-RAMA. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose here. Resuming in 5, 4, 3. Number 5, the Citi Double Cash issued by Citi. Now, you'll remember at the very beginning, I said I want all of these to be business cards with one exception. And this is the one exception. If I can get a Citi Double Cash, because I've been craving that Citi Quartet for so long to round out my strategy after Cesar met me in San Juan, Puerto Rico last fall and said, Dugroz, you are a Citi guy. I just need to lean into Citi and complete my quadfecta, was my thought at the time. So sometimes in the past, the Double Cash has had a sign-up bonus. Sometimes it has not had a sign-up bonus. Right now, it does have a sign-up bonus, and I think this one's been around for a little while, probably a year. If anybody knows how long that sign-up bonus has been in place, let me know. 2% unlimited cash back, 1 when you buy, 1 as you pay off your card. Make your statement balance paid off at the end of every month. So that's 2% cash back. Plus, there is a $200 cash back sign-up bonus after spending $1,500 on purchases in the first 6 months of account opening. And then looky, this could also be interesting, APR for balance transfers. Not purchases, just balance transfers. 0% introductory APR for 18 months for balance transfers, as long as you make that within the first 4 months from when you open the card. Now, I don't like balance transfers as much as I like purchases, because usually a balance transfer comes with a fee, anywhere from 3% to 5%. And that kind of negates a lot of that, like savings if you put it in an interest-bearing savings account or an investment account or something like that. In the case of Citi, it's 3%, which is of the fee is about as good as you can get. Now, it seems like in the distant past, the same grandpa who gave me the advice about buying Micron stock said one time he was offered a $50,000 credit card with 0% on balance transfers and no balance transfer fees for a year. He's like, well, of course I took it. That way I can save interest for a year. That would be awesome. But I don't know of any cards that do balance transfers without a fee other than a few credit union cards. I'm talking bank cards. If you know of any, let me know. And I thought, well, that could be interesting. Let's look into that a little more. So I put in the application and hit the button that gave permission to pull credit. And it came to this screen, which said, almost done, start a balance transfer or finish your account setup. Credit limit, $9,200. And I thought to myself, there's nothing that says I'm approved, but if they're giving me a specific credit limit and asking me if I want to do a balance transfer, I think that's a pretty good clue that it's approved. And the weird thing was, when I clicked through the next screen, it was something like, all right, check your app for more details. There was never like the big celebration screen that said approved or anything like that. But obviously, if they're offering me a balance transfer, it's approved. Now, with a credit limit of $9,200, I'm not going to be able to do a $10,000 balance transfer because that's not big enough. And I need to leave a little bit of a credit limit on there to reach my $1,500. So I chose $8,000 for a balance transfer, and I did commit to that right away for the other card that has a 0% interest rate that will be ending in less than a month. And then I put down below the $1,500 of spend for the sign-up bonus will be other things, likely not the home project. So I don't really feel like, because it's a fairly small spending requirement, I don't need to commit my furnace or air conditioning or roof or deck to that. I can just, pay my bills and, utilities and that kind of stuff, and I'll hit that one just fine. So this $1,500 of spending doesn't really count towards the $35,000 spending I want to do. This was sort of a side quest, and I kind of got, in a roundabout way, part of my 0% goals met. When I did go to my app or online website, I checked it, and the card showed up there, so obviously I was approved. So I'm now 2 for 5, a little better. And this is the first time I actually had a hard credit pull. So now I have 1 pull on my credit report. So, hey, 2 successes, the Amex Business Gold for my wife and the double cash for me. We're making some progress, but the progress is a little slower than I wanted. I was hoping in my first 5 cards I could get it done, but that didn't happen. I'll pause there for comments. Let's see who has things to say. Hey, 96 people are still on board. That's not bad at all. Let my head not be cut off. QC Man says, so now you can't get the bonus on both the Ink Unlimited and the Ink Cash according to the pop-up language. Wonder if that's consistently enforced. I don't know, but the language clearly says if you've had the bonus on the Ink Unlimited, you cannot get the Ink Cash bonus and vice versa. YouTube Experiment is on board, driving but not listening. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that. I said that wrong. Driving but listening. I know, Chuck. You're in the car, you're listening, you're not looking at the screen, which is good. You shouldn't be looking at the screen. QC Man says 91 folks in the chat, but only 56 likes. Let's bring those numbers up, folks. You got to bring those numbers up. Thank you. Vincent says, I remember getting a mailer for the double cash years ago before I dived into the credit card points and miles game. That's interesting. Do you remember what the features were? Interesting story. I should add this to my interacting with normies segment I do on my members only channel sometime. I have 3 different videos about like weird things that have happened when I interact with normal people. A more recent story I had is I went out to eat with a friend that I only see like once every 2 years. And we all paid separately. And when the bill came, it's the kind with like a receipt on a little tiny tray, and you put your card on your tray to make sure you have the right one. And he was paying with a Citi card that was really beat up. He does like construction and stuff. And it was just very generic looking. It had like the Citi logo in the middle. It kind of looked like the old Rewards Plus, but it definitely wasn't the Reward Plus. And I don't even know what card it was. So I said like, oh, that's a cool looking card. I said, what does it do? Or what are its features? And he said, it lets you pay for things. In other words, like he had no idea what the rewards were, what the benefits were. It's just a payment method for him. There's probably a lot of people out there. I don't know if he's earning 1x, 0x, 2x. I have no idea. It was not a double cash either. It was probably a grandfathered Citi card of some kind. Cesar says, I agree with Cesar, Joel. You are a Citi guy. I am a Citi guy. Dugroz.bandcamp.com. Real Rewards Guru says, any thoughts of giving up on Citi double cash and focus on other Citi cards only? Built Palladium's 2x might be good enough to cover the double cash catch-all 2%. Thoughts? Yes. I would be giving up a 524 slot because all of the built cards are personal, not business. And I am big on American Airlines. And right now, the only way to get your funds over to American is through Citi. Will that change? We'll find out. It's on the back burner. It's just not a high priority right now. QC Man says, when you mentioned Citi Guys, I remember the NBC Saturday morning teenage comedy Citi Guys that used to air in the late 90s. Oh, I don't remember that one at all. If it was late enough 90s, like 97 or later, I was off to college and not watching a lot of network TV. Girisano says, in other news, I just got approved for the Signify 524, 624 with business HP. Awesome. Okay. Good to know. Wells Fargo Signify is their one and only one business card. I have that card. That's why I couldn't apply for anything with Wells Fargo. Sleepy Rod said, what about just another U.S. bank business card? Oh, I'm on my 3rd one now. I have 2 open at present, and the most recent one was only opened about 3 months ago. So I think the odds of them approving me would be small, but stay tuned. I've got something kind of along those lines coming. Vincent, remembering from his mailer several years ago before he got into points and miles, says the double cash was still 1% as you spend, 1% as you pay. There wasn't a sign-up bonus back then. Tia Rico says, hi, too busy in CR to stay. Is that Cedar Rapids or something else? But that's okay. Thanks for stopping in and feeding the algorithm, Tio. I appreciate that. Girosan says, no email, no notification, no celebration of approval either. Took a call from a rep for confirmation of AP, sent a code and said, well, now you just wait. Oh, come on. They need more celebration than that when you get approved for a card. Kaimok says, I just got denied for the Citi double cash. I converted my old double cash to a 20-second because Citi custom cash. I'm assuming there's some hyperbole there. Oh, second double cash, LOL. I mean, I know like Yuri has 10, but 22 would be quite a feat. Hey, I'm so glad there's still 94 people on board. Thank you so much, and click thumbs up if you've not yet done so. I'm still accepting super stickers for $1.49 if you'd like to get some Dugroz points given to you. Nobody knows what the value are, but they do exist. All right, back at it. In 5, 4, 3. Now, I have met the goal of more than a 12-month 0% APR. I said I wanted to be around $10,000. 8,000 is probably close enough. I need about 12,000 more of 0% APR. Let's say 10 to 12,000 to really do all of what I wanted to do. And I still need about 20,000 more of spend to run through that. I'm either going to put towards a big sign-up bonus, or I'm going to put towards the 0% APR arbitrage trick, one of the two. So $20,000 is what we're looking for. I'd like to have at least 12,000 of that be 0% APR. So let's keep going here. Number 6, the Lincoln Savings Bank Business Cash Preferred Card, issued by Lincoln Savings Bank. And you might think to yourself, what in the world is Lincoln Savings Bank? Well, that's a great question. They are only in Iowa. Now, there might be some other bank named Lincoln Savings Bank, but at least this particular one is only in Iowa. And you can see on the map here, there's 4 or 5 in the Des Moines area, and then they're all kind of in a, it's weird, they're almost like in a straight line going from like Grinnell up through Waterloo to like Wellsburg, Geneva, Steamboat Rock, some of those towns that probably many of you don't know. Maybe Strawberry Point is in there, something like that. So 20-ish branches in the state of Iowa. Now, this is one of the many cards that are through a local bank, but it's actually issued through Elon, not Elon Musk. We're talking ELAN, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of U.S. Bank that basically does the servicing and underwriting for smaller banks who don't want to issue. They want to make it seem like they issue credit cards and get their name on them, but really it's issued by Elon. Now, I don't know what their behind the scenes agreement is. Like, if I defaulted on this card, is my debt to Lincoln Savings Bank or is my debt to Elon? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, basically I was just searching all sorts of banks around me to see if they had their own credit cards, whether or not they issued them. I mean, I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. So what is the Lincoln Savings Bank Business Cash Preferred Card? By the way, you can get a clone of this exact same business card with hundreds of other small regional banks. There's a $350 cash back sign-up bonus. You have to spend $3,500 to unlock that in 120 days. So about 4 months. Sounds very US Bank-ish. 5% cash back on prepaid hotels through the Travel Center. That sounds familiar, similar to US Bank. 1% cash back on everything else. And then 3% back on gas and EV stations, as long as the purchase is $200 or less. Cell phones, office supply stores, and dining, including takeout and food delivery services. So those are some decent categories. Probably not what I'm going to use it for. Although, to be honest with you, after the first year of 0% APR, well, I might keep it. That's a decent set, although I can earn that in other ecosystems too, so I might not. If for some reason I get approved for this, and if for some reason I end up not using it for the home improvement, putting the full 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever of 0% APR on it, I would probably use it during the first year for some of that stuff. So put in my application through Lincoln Savings Bank, which was clearly just a website laying over another website. And it said, thanks for applying. You'll hear from us soon. This was, I think, early this week. 2 business days later, I got an email that said, congratulations, Douglas. You've been approved for the Lincoln Savings Bank Visa Business Cash Preferred Card. Here's a few things you should know. Your revolving credit line is $10,000 and your card will arrive in 7 to 10 days. As of yesterday, it hadn't arrived yet, so I can't hold it up and show it to you or anything. But yay, I got approved. Celebrate. I'm now 50-50. I'm 3 for 6. Now, this one also had a hard pull. I don't remember which credit bureau. I think it was TransUnion, but don't quote me on that because that's what US Bank uses. That's 2 pulls, depending on which state you live in. So 3 for 6 with 2 pulls. I would have liked that credit limit to be a little larger. If it had been 20,000, that would have been better, but I'll take it. Pausing for comments now. Let's see here. When Kaimak accidentally said I had a 20-second custom cash, QC Man says, "Oh, I thought you had Yuri beat." No way. Haha. Vincent says, "I got the Fidelity Visa, which is an Elan card last year with a targeted mail offer. 18 months at 0% APR purchases and balance transfers. No sign-up bonus, though." That's not bad. 18%, 0% APR. I think the US Bank Shield has something similar where it can be up to 24 months, but some people only get 18 or something like that, which would make sense because Elon is US Bank. So the fact that they have something very similar totally checks out. All right, that's it for comments, so it didn't take very long to catch up. Boop, boop, boop. I'm running low on water. If any of you are here in my neighborhood, would you get me some more water? 5, 4, 3. So in terms of where things stand, if I use all $10,000 of available credit from the Lincoln Savings Bank card, I have allocated $18,000 of my $20,000 0% goal. Close enough for me. Now, to be more specific, you'll remember that balance transfer, not purchases, on the double cash, I'm going to use that 18 months 0% APR with a 3% fee. I think that's $240. Does that sound right? On $8,000. That's where the $8,000 comes from. $10,000 on Lincoln Savings Bank. That's just going to pay for construction, and I'll just not pay 6% interest for a year, which will be nice. And in theory, I could like put that in a savings account or something, earn a little extra interest on it. 18,000, 20,000, let's say close enough. And then I put yay business cards. One thing I really like about business cards is business cards are cool because they don't report to personal credit. A 0% APR business card is really, really cool because it's a debt with like your debt to income ratio is really high, or not debt to income ratio. Debt to available credit limit is really high, but nobody knows about it. As long as you meet your minimum payments and don't default, it doesn't get reported to your personal credit. So like Chase doesn't know, Amex doesn't know. Now I suppose in theory they could pull your business credit report. I've never had that done. Have any of you had that done where like you have a business card at one bank, you're in good standing, and somebody pulls like a business credit report? What's that called? Dun & Bradstreet or something like that? I don't think that's a thing, but if I'm wrong, let me know. So yeah, I really like business credit cards at 0%. They're really cool because it's like, it's just between me and Lincoln, or just between me and Elon. So with that in mind, I still need about 10,000 more of spend to run through. So now I'm just sub hunting because that's what I think is going to happen. If I didn't clarify it earlier, even though the HELOC, the line of credit, has a credit limit of $60,000, I'm only planning on spending around $35,000 on these summer projects. Now, will I need more later? Yeah, our carpet is in bad shape. We could use new tile in the kitchen. The garage door opener is broken. Some lawn and landscaping stuff. I have a stump that needs removed. So I might end up using more than $35,000, but in terms of the immediate summer needs, I'm thinking $35,000. Number 7 application was with Capital One, the Venture Business Card, formerly the Spark Miles Card. So this is sort of like a clone of the Capital One Venture Card. This is that $95 annual fee. It does have some interesting features, though, and a generous sign-up bonus. So 2 miles everywhere, same as the Venture or the Venture X. Let's look in the bottom right-hand corner here. 150,000 bonus miles. For a limited time, earn up to 75,000 miles once you spend 7,500 in the first 3 months. That's a 10% return on spend. And an additional 75 once you spend a total of 30,000 in 6 months. This offer ends 6/8. Well, today is 6/6. So if you're watching this live, you have the rest of the day. You have tomorrow, which is Sunday the 7th. And then some amount of time on Monday the 8th. Now, whether or not they end that at noon Eastern time, 1 a.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time, I don't know. So I would say apply by end of day Sunday if you want to get in on this. And I think this is a really solid business card. I didn't realize it was so solid until I started looking into it a little more, because the sign-up bonus is great, but I've always thought like, 2x everywhere after the first year is not that big of a deal. But you know what? There are a couple features where it kind of pays for itself, depending on how you think about it. I didn't know there was a $50 annual travel credit. And that's exactly the same as the Venture X's $300 travel credit, just smaller. It's just a coupon that you straight up get when you pay through their travel portal. Now, it probably has to be in the name of the person who's actually doing the traveling, although don't quote me on that. Somebody said earlier, not earlier in this live stream, but a long time ago, like, I got a one-time credit of $100 to use on my Saver card when I applied for that. And they said, well, if you're going to use that, you have to put the purchase on your Saver card. That ended up not being true. I was able to use the credit on my Saver card or from my Saver card, paid for the cash portion with my Venture X. So I'm assuming the same thing would apply here. I could use my $50 travel credit, pay for it with my Venture X to get better travel insurances. Can't say that for sure, but I'd say 90% chance that's the case. And then the second one says a $50 annual statement credit. I can't click on it to make it show the details, but this is for software. So for things like if you pay for an Adobe monthly subscription, which I do, it's around $10 to $12 a month for all my the artwork that you love, like from the Million Point Challenge and my covers and those kind of things, my thumbnails. That's through Adobe. It used to be called Adobe Spark. Now it's called Adobe something else. It's like Adobe Acrobat for dummies, basically. I wonder if things like StreamYard would work. Unlike US Bank, where you have to do it for 12 months and then get the credit, this is just a straight up credit. So if I spend $12 one month, I get the $12 credit, and then I use it up and it's gone. So the card kind of pays for itself. So if you want a dedicated business card that gets 2x everywhere, you already have a Venture X on the personal side. You don't want to get the Venture X business. You want to keep your spending separate. This might actually be a keeper card now that I think about it a little more. But I still have to actually apply for it and get approved. First, I tried their pre-approval tool, and it said, you're pre-approved, Douglas, like I'm supposed to celebrate this. The only card I was approved for was the Spark Business Classic. That is their lowest end business card. It's 1% everywhere, cash back, and no sign-up bonus. I'm kind of insulted at the fact they said, earn unlimited cash rewards while building your credit, even though I have a 780 credit score and I've been literally using credit cards and have credit since the year 2000. So like, yeah, I guess I need to build that credit score a little more. That's just an insult. We all know that Capital One is dumb in this way. Sometimes they won't offer the good cards to people with really good credit because they want the people that are going to skip a few payments, pay a few fees, carry a little bit of a balance, et cetera, et cetera. But I went ahead and pushed the envelope because I've heard a lot of people say, I did the pre-approval tool and it didn't say I was eligible, but then I did the firm application and I did get approved. So I went full send. I went for it. And as we all know they do, they pulled all three credit bureaus. Hey, Douglas, a lender requests copy your credit report on TransUnion. A new inquiry just added to Equifax. Heads up, there's a new credit card inquiry on your credit report from Experian. So, yep, all three bureaus instantaneously pulled. And did that pay off? We're sorry. We can't approve you at this time. It did not pay off. We know you're disappointed. We've explained why we couldn't in a letter that you'll receive in 7 to 10 business days. Now, because I already have a Capital One account, I was able to log into my account and see the letter right away. I guess this isn't a surprise. It said the reason for our decisions are based on your application, the owner of this legal entity type has too many new credit card accounts. Okay, yeah, I'm at 324 coming into this. I was actually at 424 because I'd already gotten the double cash a few days before this. So, and it was already showing on my credit report. Actually, it was probably more like a week and a half ago. And I got all the emails like, hey, there's a new card on your credit report. I had just opened the home equity line of credit before doing this. So they're like, based on your information, you have too many credit card closures and recent inquiries. The inquiries I get, the closures, I haven't really closed that many cards, but yeah, I've had quite a few inquiries. And now I have more because this also pulled my credit report. I am 3 for 7, so I'm back under 50% with 3 pulls. I'm still looking at about $10,000 to run through a card to meet a sign-up bonus. So not going great. I will pause and catch up on comments here. Texas Dog says, I just realized this all soon will be in biz. No personal credit utilization. Way to go. Yeah, all the spend will be in biz except for the double cash, $1,500 plus the $8,000 balance transfer. But other than that, none of this will report to personal credit. Thank you. That's why I like it. Vincent drops $1.99 to contribute to the Dugroz Water Fund. Celebrate. Appreciate it. Yeah, my glass that I started with is completely out. I have this mug sitting on my desk from yesterday when I was working that's about this full. So I'm going to just be diplomatic and take tiny sips. Thank you. I can afford water. Did you know that Iowa has the least healthy water in the nation? There's stories out there about nitrates and things and increased cancer rates. You don't know if I used the blowtorch yet this year. I did. I need to go blowtorch more weeds in the rocks out next to my house. Thank you for reminding me. It's pretty awesome. Yuri says this card will appear in your credit report. Do you mean this one right here? The Capital One Business Venture? According to Frequent Miler, even though it's a Capital One card that is business, it will not appear on my credit report. And in the comment section, there were two different people who said, I can confirm, I've had this open a couple months now. It has not appeared on my credit report. There are some Capital One cards that do. Like I think that Capital One Classic for Business does appear in your personal credit report. I don't know why some do and some don't. So just check Frequent Miler, take it on a case-by-case basis. By the way, I did check. This is still issued as a MasterCard. That may have been on the previous slide. I don't remember. No, but yeah, it was still issued as a MasterCard, not as a Discover, thankfully. Coder says Savage, yeah, Capital One. New Again says, this data point is why Capital One is ranked last in my rankings. Wells Fargo just slightly better. Yeah. Capital One and I have a very love-hate relationship. Background balloons feeding the algorithms and fire. Yuri says, yes, this card will appear. Just going off what other people have said. He says only charge cards don't appear. There are only two of them. So that would be the Venture X for Business. And what's the other one that Capital One has? I think a Business Venture X and Sparks do not appear on personal. All right. Got some conflicting data points there. I'm not sure who to go with, but you know what? I didn't get approved, so doesn't matter. Now, the polls will definitely appear, all three of them. All right, we're going to resume now. A drink of my valuable water. In 5, 4, 3. Number 8, the Southwest Rapid Rewards Premium Business Visa Signature Card issued by Chase. And I know you think, but Doug, you just said Chase is not letting you in. And that's true for ink cards. Now, there are some mixed data points out there. Some people saying what I'm about to say is true. Some people saying it's not true. That even if Chase won't approve you for ink cards, they will often approve you for co-branded business cards. And I'm like, yeah, I would like a Southwest card. I don't remember if I put what it offers on the next screen or not. I did. There it is. So of all the co-branded cards, this one stood out to me the best. Southwest, a lot of people don't like the changes they've made with assigned seats and whatnot. For me, I really like corn, but it's actually also a benefit because I almost never checked bags. That didn't matter. And I didn't like the cattle call boarding. And at least on the 2 Southwest flights I took back in April, if you pay a little extra, like $15 extra to upgrade to one of the seats up front, you have a really high chance of having no one sit in the middle, or at least you can get an aisle seat up front. And it's like, it's not business class or first class, but it is like a little extra legroom, like an extra 4 inches of legroom or something like that. So I would rather just pay for it and then pay for the upgrade, or use points and pay for the upgrade. So I'm actually liking Southwest better now. Again, doesn't apply to everyone, but in my case. The new card member sign-up bonus is 60,000 points on $3,000 to spend. Well, that won't meet all of the 10,000, but at least you'll get some of it. You do get a free checked bag. I think up to 8 people in your party. You can select a standard or preferred seat within 48 hours of departure. So if I get this card, and I don't even have to pay the $15 to pick the preferred seat. Log into my account or app 48 hours before takeoff. Push a few buttons, and if there's a preferred seat available, you can get it. And in my case, most of the people who fly Southwest are still, at least as of now, in cheapo mode, and they're all sitting way in the back. So there's still plenty of upfront seats to choose from. Now, that's flying in and out of Des Moines, Iowa. If you live in a hub, you might find that to be different. But at least that's how it was for me. You do get a priority boarding a little. You're guaranteed no worse than group 5. And then you get 6,000 anniversary points each year. Would it be a keeper card? I don't know. I would have to think that over, but I want to apply for it at least to get the sub and see what happens with that. So I put in the application and it said, thanks for requesting a new credit card. We'll review your Southwest Rapid Rewards card application and be in touch soon. I'm like, okay. Well, at least it's not an outright denial. It went pending. Let's see where this goes. And I applied after 8 o'clock Eastern. So the day I put in the application, I wasn't able to get my answer right away. But then the next morning at 9:12 a.m. Central Time, I got this text message. Thanks for applying for your Southwest Airlines product. To discuss the next step, please call us between 8 and 8 Eastern Time, which would be 7 and 7 Central Time. This is the same number as their recon number, which I tried calling the night before, but they were already closed. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I got an email saying the same thing, and it was from Chase. So I know it was legitimate, so I wasn't worried about it. So I gave him a call just a few minutes after getting that text and spoke with a customer service agent. It was a guy. He was very friendly, and he said, what's your reference number, which was in the email, looked me up. And then he just like, so I need to get some additional information to see if we can approve you or not. I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? And I'm like, sure. Questions like, when was your business started? Okay, that's easy. I always say 2023. What's the nature of your business? This was kind of funny. I was like, well, how much detail do you want? I was going to be honest with him. And I said, well, I do online. I have an online presence like social media. So some blogging, although haven't kept my blog up to date in like 2 years with mattress reviews, some blogging, mostly YouTube, that kind of stuff. I was like, do you want to know the nature of the content? No, I don't need to know that. That's good enough. Okay. Why do you want this card? Is this a job interview now? Well, I'm just super excited about your dynamic team here at Chase, and I think I would be a great fit. I said, well, I fly on Southwest, and I like them. I travel, 4 to 7 times a year. Oh, is this travel for work? Yeah. How much flying and travel business spend do you think you'll have? Well, when I put in the app, it asks like what you think you will spend each month. And I don't remember what I put. I think it was $2,500 or $2,900. In my head, I'm thinking like, that's probably, once we get beyond the sign-up bonus, that's probably the most I would ever do. And he said, you put $2,500 on the application. Is that monthly? Because you only have like this much revenue. That doesn't really add up. Was that more of a maximum? I was like, yeah, that'd probably be my maximum of like how much I would spend. In my head, I'm thinking not on this card, but yes, the hypothetical maximum I would spend like in cash on a trip could easily expend $2,900. I mean, the 2 times we went to the United Kingdom, I spent way more than $2,900. I had a lot of tricks and strategy to offset that, but yeah, I could spend $2,900 in 1 month. That's plausible. The revenue figure, is that a good estimate of this year's revenue, or is that last year's revenue? I was like, oh, that's an estimate forward looking, because I was afraid he's going to ask for my tax returns. And I do claim my YouTube revenue on taxes, so I can prove it. But I was a little more optimistic, because I was thinking like what I would be earning this coming year, not so much. I'll just tell you, I put down $15,000 of what I thought my revenue might be over the next 12 months. A very optimistic guess, but it's possible. You never know. Maybe I'll start doing some coaching sessions or something, or getting back into the mattress game more heavily. I was like, yeah, I think that's a valid estimate. I think that's where he could be. Now, some of that might be my wife's book selling on the side, those kind of things, but it's a reasonable estimate. Okay, well, I'm going to need to put you on hold. Is that okay? Yeah, he put me on hold for like 3 minutes. Came back. I'm sorry, Mr. Rose, it's taking longer than I thought. Can I put you on hold for another 3 to 5 minutes? Okay. Came back like that second 5-minute hold and said, well, sorry, you're declined. We can't possibly approve this card. I'm so sorry. And I had mentioned earlier, I said, hey, if you need to move my credit around, that's okay. And he's like, we've already extended $17,000 of credit to you between your 2 existing cards. The system just will not let me approve you, even if I move that credit around. And he said, it's because you've had too many new accounts opened, both here at Chase and elsewhere. And he said something like, I mean, your last business card with us was opened less than a year ago. So we just can't do it right now. But if you want to check back in 6 months and try again, then you might be eligible. I'm like, okay. Slink off into the sunset. So I'm now 3 for 8, not going great. 4 hard pulls, because this one was a hard pull also. Fortunately, they only pulled 1 credit bureau. I think it was Experian. Don't quote me on that. But I'm like, oh, this is just dragging on. I've got 3 more to go. I think I'm going to push ahead and then catch up on comments here, just for the sake of time. Number 9, back to Amex, the Marriott Bonvoy business card. I'm like, okay, what's a co-branded card that I've never had before that maybe they'll have sympathy on me? I was like, well, how about the Hilton business card from Amex, which I have had before and canceled about 3 years ago. And I was like, are there any no lifetime language links? I'm like, the no lifetime language links are only for the personal cards. Can't do that one. I'm like, okay, I'm not a big Marriott guy, but the sign-up bonus was pretty decent. So I'm like, yeah, this would be a great one-hit wonder. That'd be fine. Let's try for that. Right now, it's 150,000 Marriott points plus a $125 statement credit after you make $8,000 of purchases in 6 months. Now, it has a $125 annual fee. So basically, after meeting the minimum spend, they basically are refunding you your annual fee during the first year. So just think of it kind of like the tornado siren just went off, but every first Saturday of the month at noon Central Time, they test the sirens. So my panic was short-lived. Think of it this way. You meet the minimum spend of $8,000 in 6 months, no annual fee, and 150,000 Marriott points. I should be able to make good use of that. I mean, even if it's like 3 hotels, 50,000 each, that's 3 free night in hotels. That would be worth doing, right? Nope. So got the pop-up prison alert. We're sorry, Douglas, we're unable to extend this offer to you. Now, you can still submit the application, get the card with no sign-up bonus. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Now, again, because Amex let me withdraw the application, this is not a hard pull. So I'm 3 for 9. I'm betting 33%, but I do have 4 hard pulls still. Fortunately, this was not one of them. Now I'll catch up on comments. Let me know if you can hear the tornado siren. Probably not. Okay, Yuri mentioning the Spark Cashback 2% he thinks is the other one that doesn't report to personal credit. Vincent said, if you're looking at a companion pass, you might want to apply for 2 Southwest cards in the fall. Yeah, I'm familiar with that trick. I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot of companions on Southwest. It would mostly be solo travel. Why do you want this card, says QC Man. Why do you think I'm applying for this card? I want the sign-up bonus. I think I said something like, well, I want the sign-up bonus, but also I'm going to be doing some traveling, part of my business, that kind of stuff. New Again says, agreed. Southwest is more attractive now. Still need to improve logistics. It'd be great if they bought JetBlue. Anyone but the big 3. I hear what you're saying. Actually, I hope JetBlue makes it as an independent, but I think we all know that may or may not happen. Look what happened to Spirit. They can buy Alaska. Do you think Southwest, Alaska would ever have a merger? I think they're just going to stay the way they are for now. Yeah. Oops, hit the wrong button. To which New Again says, Southwest can't afford Alaska. Alaska don't have an appetite for JetBlue. Only Delta United can handle such a deal. Delta doesn't need JetBlue's assets. QC Man had a comparable experience recently. QC Man had a comparable experience recently with applying for IHG business card. Had a very similar experience with Recon before they told me no, including the why do you want this card session? Why do you want this card question? Sorry about that. Why do you want this card? Why do you want to be a part of my company? I just really admire Jamie Dimon, the whole team at Chase. You guys are just the best. I've had a good relationship. So when I thought of airline card, I'm like, it's got to be a Chase card. I just love Chase so much. Do you think that would help if I use that line of reasoning? All right. Moving on. 2 more to go. In 5, 4, 3. Number 10, the PNC Bank Cash Rewards Business Card. If you were watching before the main event, we talked about the PNC bank account bonus a little and how I had one good experience with PNC, one bad experience. Let's see what happens with PNC. Now, I'm really digging deep here. I'm like, okay, what's a bank that is more regional, doesn't use Elon or some other bank for their issuance, so it's not, being pulled from the same company. I can't get Wells Fargo because they only have one business card. My wife and I both already have it. I can't get Capital One, as we saw. I can't get Chase, pop-up out. I can't get Amex, pop-up prison. So let's see. That was Capital One, Chase, Wells Fargo, Amex, and what's the other big one that I'm missing? Citi. I didn't try Citi. They only have one business card. It's the American Airlines one, but I'm like, I just got approved for the double cash. And I know when I've been denied Citi before, they've said, well, you just got a card 3 months ago. It's been like 3 weeks ago, not even 3 weeks ago. So I'm like, all right, got to find a new issuer. Oh, let's try PNC. My dad had a debit card with them once. So I looked it up. The PNC Cash Rewards Visa Signature Business Credit Card. Earn a $400 statement credit after making at least $3,000 in net purchases. In addition, you earn 1.5 everywhere. It's just kind of your generic 1.5 everywhere card. You do get 0% for 9 months. 9 months is kind of weird, but okay, whatever. I did the math for you here. 400 divided into 3,000 is a 13% return on spend, plus the 1.5% everywhere else on top of that. So it'd really be 14.4% return on spend. That's pretty reasonable. Some of the other ones I was considering were only 10%. So yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's go for it. I didn't like this application because it had a whole bunch of weird questions, and it really felt like at the end an algorithm's not going to make the decision. Like a PDF file is going to go to Jim in the business lending division, and then he's going to call me. It asked me what credit limit I wanted, and I debated this. I'm like, well, it says down here it's a Visa signature, so I know those have to be at least 3,000, or maybe it's 5,000. I don't remember. So I wanted to be above 5,000. That seems too low. 10,000 for Visa Infinite. Like, well, I could put 20,000 but I don't want to scare them away. They're probably going to negotiate. Like, let's just go with 10,000, see what happens. Business revenue. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to guess. Net profit or loss. Well, after talking to the Chase guy, he was like, how much of that is profit? I'm like, half. It's not like I have a whole lot of expenses. I mean, I've got my computer, my dash cam, my microphone, that kind of stuff. Total assets, I don't know, my business laptop, my microphone, let's just say $2,000. And then I don't have any liabilities. So what's your business's net worth? $2,000. Okay, sure, we'll roll with that. And there were some other questions on here, like normally it asks what your business code is according to MAIC or whatever they call that. And normally it's just like other, and then I choose like internet broadcasting or something like that. But they like had a box where they wanted you to type it in manually, and it was like, this is weird. So I hit the submit button after going through all that weirdness. And before pulling my credit, it said, you must be an existing PNC Bank business banking customer to apply online. When completing your application online, we require the following. And then a lot of other stuff. Oh, that's the industry code, NAICS I was talking about. And it's like, oh. So I get all the way through the application to the last step before it let me submit. And then it says, no, you have to have a PNC Business Bank checking account or savings account before we'll let you apply for this. And I'm like, you know, that Ron Swanson throwing his computer in the dumpster meme. It's like, I just spent a half hour working on this, and now you tell me. Now, I did some web searches, and there are some Reddit posts and that kind of stuff. People saying like, yeah, you have to have the bank checking account first. I'm like, oh. Now, that was before I saw that PNC Bank had that business checking account bonus. So I'm like, I give up. Screw it. This isn't worth doing. I was just frustrated at the process. So I just pulled out. I didn't actually submit it. So I'm now 3 for 10, but since I closed the application before submitting, it didn't do another hard pull. So I have 4 hard pulls at this point. Okay, I'm getting desperate. What else is out there? Okay, when you think about the big banks, we think of Amex, Chase, Capital One. Nope to all 3 of those. Citi, not going to happen. Wells Fargo, they only have one business card, and I don't have it. Again, I'm looking for business credit cards. Okay, U.S. Bank, I've gotten 3 within like the last 18 months. They're probably not going to give me another one. What else? Like PenFed Credit Union. Nope, they don't have business cards. You know, I checked some other random stuff. I'm looking at like local credit unions. Most local credit unions don't have business credit cards. The one I got my HELOC through only has personal credit cards. And I'm like, oh, so I'm just like scraping the bottom of the barrel. Then I'm like, my Wyndham business credit card is issued by Barclays. Let's see what Barclays has. Oh, by the way, the PNC application was withdrawn. But before I went to Barclays, I will talk about a little bit of my desperation with 2 honorable mentions. Honorable mention 1 of 2 is the FNBO, which stands for First National Bank of Omaha Evergreen card. I'm like, oh yeah, I had an FNBO card once a long time ago we bought a couch or some chairs or something at Homemakers, which is a furniture store here in Iowa. And they're like, well, you can have 0% for 18 months if you go with our store card. And I was like, sure. It was issued by FNBO. I canceled that card a long time ago, either before I got into points and miles or after I did or something. It was a store card that could only be used at Homemakers. I'm like, I'm not keeping it. But it was issued by FNBO. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll be eligible. Omaha is right over there. It's only like 2.5 hours away from Des Moines where I live. It offers 2% cash back everywhere, $200 cash bonus when you spend $3,000. That's not a very good rate. That's what, like 8% or something like that? No, 6.6% return on spend. Kind of lame. Okay, whatever. Interestingly, you can earn 10,000 bonus points every year if you spend $10,000. So you get an extra, that's basically 1x functionally. So on your first, if you spend exactly $10,000 every year, it would become a 3% cashback card. Oh, and there's 0% APR for 6 months. Not bad. No annual fee. All right. Well, let's give it a shot. So I get to the application. Very first question on the application is put in your zip code. We're sorry, this product is not available in your zip code. I'm like, what? Like Nebraska, Iowa, our states touch each other. Why would this not be available? I thought to myself, well, my zip code is a newer zip code. It's only been around for 10 years. Maybe they have a really old system. Let me try the zip code that's right next door that's been around forever. Nope, not available in that zip code either. Not available anywhere in the Des Moines area. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Moving on. Honorable mention 2 of 2, the TD Bank business card. 0% interest for 12 months. Hey, that's not bad. What else does it give you? $400 cash back when you spend $3,000. Hey, that's better than 10%. That's like somewhere around 12% return on spend. And I cut off what the card earns. It's either a 1.5 everywhere card or a 2x everywhere card. I don't remember which. And I opened up the application, started filling it out, and I'm like, I've never heard any data points in this one. Let me search for some data points. And after Googling, the very first one I found was from Tim with Frequent Miler, who said, yes, TD Bank business cards are known to show up on personal credit reports and do count towards 524. I'm like, well, that defeats the purpose. If I'm going to have something that shows up on 524, I might as well get whatever personal card I want. So did not pursue that one. All right. So after remembering that Barclays exists, I did a search for business credit cards issued by Barclays. Interestingly, this card is the Hawaiian Airlines business card. Does not show up on Barclays' website, but if you specifically Google it, it does. Now, I thought I had heard that they closed this to new applicants, or maybe it was just a rumor. But there it was right there on the Barclays site, and it let me apply for it. Also, interestingly, it says Bank of Hawaii on the card, on the graphic at least, but I did specifically look at the terms and conditions. It says issued by Barclays Bank. So I'm like, okay, what does it have going for it? Well, now that Alaska and Hawaiian have merged, it's called Atmos, and you can earn 50,000 Atmos reward points after spending $4,000. Well, that's not bad. I can do some pretty good damage with 50,000 Atmos points. I think for my hypothetical trip to Boston, which may or may not happen, on the way back, we're flying first class on American using Atmos miles, and I think it was 12,500, which is pretty good for a domestic ticket with the wife, plus $12.50, soon to be $20. So I'm like, yeah, 50,000, that can do some damage. That's like 4 of those 12,500 type seats. Yeah, I'll do that. $99 annual fee. Okay, it's a one-time kind of smash and grab on points. It does have some earnings, but honestly, they're bad. 3x on Alaska and Hawaiian purchases, 2x on gas, dining, office supply, meh. 1x on everything else, meh. There's a one-time companion discount. That's not every year. That's just one time. 50% off a companion ticket. There are some terms and conditions on like the routes and stuff, those kind of thing. But other than that, it's just a smash and grab. So let's apply for it and see what happens. And it gave me the pending screen. Thank you for your interest. Your application is being reviewed. Unfortunately, we're not able to provide you with an immediate decision. Your application requires further review, which may take up to 10 days. We will notify you in writing in no more than 30 days, and often sooner. You can also check this website. Now, full disclosure, I just put in this application yesterday. So I don't know what the result is. That's why I've got a question mark up there. Let me take a look and see if I have any emails that give me a clue. Since I applied on a Friday, it seems unlikely. Here's a Credit Karma alert that says, is this your card? That's probably not it. It's probably the one. It's probably my Citi Double Cash. I'll click the confirm button. We'll see what happens here. I don't think this is it. So yeah, if you go off of the top right-hand corner, I'm at 3, maybe 4 out of 10 with 5 polls. So if I can get this card, let's see. I have to spend $4,000. Even if I got that, that's still $6,000 less than what I wanted to put through all of my cards. So I'm going to have a gap of either $10,000 or $6,000 as of where we sit right now. It was the Citi Double Cash. It was not the new one from Barclays that showed up my account. So I still don't know if I'm approved or not. When I find out, you guys will be one of the first ones to know. So that's where we sit right now. I will need to think about some strategies on what to do next. But before I do, I will pause and catch up on comments because I'm sure I have quite a few. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I probably do. Already went over that. Yuri says Southwest was Works number 1X SOR line at times, and it's always in the first 4. I assume you mean like airline ratings, that kind of stuff. By the way, thank you so much to the 84 people who stayed on board. I really appreciate that. We're doing great. Vincent, a job interview question I was asked was, what is your ideal job? What if we posed the question, what is your ideal card? That would be great. My ideal job would be I get to design credit cards and I have a really long leash. Yuri, translates for what he said before. Southwest was world number 1 airline at times, and it's always in the first floor. I got you. Sleepy Rod says, don't forget the back button trick with Amex cards. I'm not familiar with said trick. Care to elaborate? I am screenshotting this. QC Man says, with the Bonvoy business, is it possible to pop up? Is it possible the pop-up was on Marriott's part, not Chase? If you got the Boundless bonus the last 2 years, they have some silly bonus blackout rules. The only Marriott card I've ever gotten was the Bonvoy Boundless. Yes, because I want to turn into a Ritz-Carlton. And that was about 8 or 9 months ago, because I think late August, early September is when I could upgrade it to the Ritz. So that might be it. I do remember Frequent Miler, and I knew this going into it, talking about like, here's this super complicated chart of when you'll be eligible. And I thought to myself, I don't need to consult that because I'm either eligible or I'm not. And because of the way Amex pop-up work, I'll know before I commit. So it was fairly low risk, but you might be right. QC Man says PNC should have given that info on the front end, not the back end. It would have saved you the time filling out that application. Yeah, I said 30 minutes. It was probably more like 20, but still. It is kind of like, is this what I'm going to expect with them? Yuri says, I have one FNBO card. Oh, what is it? Is it the Homemakers Furniture one? New Again says, I'm trying to hold off on Barclays Hawaiian Business Card until Elevated Sub comes while keeping a lookout for news that it's going away too. That's a good idea, but I'm desperate because I got to get a new deck soon. Nemo Los Angeles says, what's up, Dugroz in chat? Hey, how you doing? Happy Tom says, hey, Dugroz, if you get a call from unknown caller on Monday, answer it. It could be Barclays calling to confirm your info and income. Thank you. That's a really good tip. I appreciate that. New Again says, this exercise is why Amex is goated. No need for such work, but got to do right by them. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, in order to take advantage of Amex, all the good stuff they offer, I'm going to really use it. So like if I get 0% interest for a year, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to take advantage of sign-up bonus and stuff. But then you take advantage of them too much and they put you in pop-up prison. So it's like kind of this constant tension of like, how much do I milk Amex for everything they're worth? Fortunately, we have 2 players in the household. I do have 2 more players coming online very soon because my teenage boys will turn 18 within the next few months, within the next 6 months. So we'll see where that goes. Now, of course, they have no credit history other than the authorized user cards that I put them on. I did add them to one of my cards that was opened 2 years before they were born. So in theory, they're going to have credit history older than they are. Hey, I see 100 people on board. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, chat. Keep on clicking thumbs up, making those little tiny super chats, super stickers. Those all drive the algorithms. Remember, 1,000 Dugroz points if you super sticker exactly $1.49. There's also the tip jar link down below if you want to give anonymously or offline. Hey, I just checked the tip jar 51 minutes ago. Someone named TLER Muntz, M-U-N-T-Z, gave a $100 tip jar tip. Celebrate, celebrate. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Muntz. I appreciate that, whether you're watching now or later. And here's what Mr. Muntz said. I got the Sparrow mattress. The AA Advantage portal had a sweet deal for me, but here's your affiliate commission. Whoa, $100. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I would rather have it as tip jar than an affiliate commission because I don't know. I guess it gets to me faster, less risk, that kind of stuff. So you are very generous. Thank you, Mr. Muntz. $100 donation. Wow. Celebrate. Celebrate. And I can't remember. I think Gentleman Explorer was the one who challenged me to build the Lego castle. I have one more segment done. My son helped me out, so it is growing a little. Maybe it was you also, Mr. Muntz. I can't remember. But we'll get the Lego castle going fully someday. Yeah, so if you're still online, Mr. Muntz, speak up and let me know, Hair Muntz. Otherwise, if you see this after the live stream is over, just put a comment down below so I can properly thank you. Yuri says, right now, Southwest is number 5 in number of passengers, number 1 in number of routes, and number 4 in aircraft owned. Alaska's not even close. Southwest is a behemoth. QC Man says, if you got the Boundless less than a year ago, you definitely weren't eligible for the business bonus because of Marriott, not Amex. Good to know. Thank you. Okay, well, let's tuck that away for our future reference. Yuri says, I have the Ducks Unlimited from FNBO. It's grandfathered in for 5% at gas station and sporting goods stores. Oh, like Sportsman Warehouse, Shields, that kind of stuff. If you want to buy pew-pews or those kind of things. Fishing rods, hunting supplies, trapping supplies. My famous green vest that I often wear on my rip trips is from Sportsman's Warehouse. Yuri says that Southwest can easily afford Alaska. Good to know. Is that because they have all that private equity now? We did drop back down to 96, but we're still going strong. We're still going strong. All right, back to the presentation. So we went through all 11, but I do have kind of a wrap up and some thoughts to share. 5, 4, 3. All right, so where do I go from here? As of yesterday, I put in 11 applications all in a short period of time. 4 hard pulls. That's going to be a lot of inquiries. But the good news is they all drop off after like 2 months. So 2 months down the road, all those will drop off. I'm sure my credit will take a hit. It'll probably drop 30 points, 40 points, 50 points. What do you guys think? 4 hard pulls? It was 4, right? Just trying to remember here. 5 hard pulls. How much do you think my credit will drop because of that? It'll recover in a couple months. Where do I go from here? Well, I could open that dumb PNC checking account. Actually, it's not that dumb because there is that sign-up bonus. That actually seems really logical. And I'm sorry I forgot your name, but the gentleman who was on board earlier who said he had like a $100,000 credit line from PNC seemed to promote it, thought PNC was good, so maybe I could go that route. That's probably on my short list. And then I didn't write it down, but I could go back to Amex and try opening a business card that is co-branded that I've never had before. So I can't do Hilton because I've had the Hilton business card before, and I can't do Marriott because I got the Boundless less than 2 years ago. So that blocks me out. Thank you to New Again and others who helped me figure that out. And QC Man helped me figure that out. But what else? Let's see. There's a Delta business card. That's really not exciting for me. I fly Delta now and then, but not enough to take advantage of status and stuff. And, you know, they don't call them Sky Pesos for nothing. So I'm not sure how worthy that sign-up bonus is. Are there any other co-branded cards? Let's look together right now. American Express. We're going to go with business. View all business credit cards. Share this screen instead. We'll find out together here. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Again, we're thinking co-branded. Dun, 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 dun. Delta Sky Miles Reserve, $650 annual fee, 125,000 miles. Pass. Doesn't count. $350 annual fee, 100,000. Almost certainly pass. Delta Gold, 150, 90,000. Meh. Can't do that one, we found out. Can't do that one. That's it. So it's just Delta. If I want to go with a co-branded card. Oops, I stopped sharing my screen accidentally. Let me get back there. Sorry about that, folks. So, yeah, the dumb PNC check account, then come back and apply for a PNC account. But will they approve me even if I do that? Don't know. How about player 2 business cards? This is where practice meets philosophy. So if you might have been wondering earlier, your very first application list was for player 2. Why weren't the others for player 2? Well, first of all, I did use the pre-approval tool for her with Capital One Venture Business, and she was not pre-approved. She got the same thing that I did, where I was only approved for the Spark Classic. But more than that, anything other than Amex involves calling at the 1-year anniversary. With Amex, you can do it all by chat. And every time I ask my wife to call in about a credit card thing, I lose 1,000 wife points. Now, if we look down here at this picture of Leon with his family, he knows that family is important. Leon and I both know that wife points are more important than credit card points and miles. So I've already got kind of a thing going where I need to close out 2 Chase cards. She's going to have to call in for that. I'm locked out of the account. I've told that story before many times. I'm not doing any more Chase business cards in my wife's name. It's just too much hassle. We keep getting locked out of the business account over and over again. So that's out. Amex is okay. She already has a business, Amex Business Gold, which we saw. She's had a business platinum in the past. So whether or not they'd allow that, I don't know. You know, sometimes they have the no lifetime language, but there's probably more than I want to bite off right now with the platinum spending $20,000 or something like that. She has the Blue Business Plus and the Blue Business Cash, so those aren't an option. She might be able to get the Marriott card. Do I want to put a Marriott account in her name? Not really. Hilton Business, that would be the logical one if I did it in her name. But Capital One's probably not going to approve her, and I really wouldn't want her to call Recon. I don't want her to have to call Recon with Chase. I don't even want to deal with Chase. And then we're dealing with all these little banks like PNC stuff, and I just really don't want her to have to be involved in that because that will be a strain. And right now I have a passive but compliant player 2, and I don't want that to change. I could also just go LOL 24 and say, screw it. I'll just not worry about 524 and go for a bunch of personal cards. For example, I could do the Fairwinds personal card, their Visa signature that Uncle Luke likes a lot. I could go for the Amex Green. And I mentioned the Amex Green because my wife has had a personal platinum and a personal gold. She never had a personal green. I've never had any of their personal charge cards with Amex. So the whole Amex Green, Amex Gold, Amex personal platinum family language path, I've not started yet. And I've always kind of kept that in my back pocket thinking like those Amex personal cards will always be there. That is a late game play. So I want to exhaust everything else first because you can always hop on the Amex Green, the Amex Gold, the Amex Platinum. I shouldn't say always, but I think the odds are better. Now I am in pop-up jail for some of the Amex cards, but it's just the one I've had before or the one that I can't get through Marriott, so that makes sense. We'll see. So do I want to go LOL 24? I'd be more inclined to do that dumb PNC checking account first. I wish I was like John from the 1 million point challenge and could just win 1 million points. That would be a lot easier. When I made the graphic, I asked it to be handed to him by one of the assistants, but it looks more like his wife is standing there to me. So I'm going to say that's John's wife. She was allowed to come on stage with him when he won the bonus round and got 1 million points in the credit card ecosystem of his choosing. But if I can't do what John did, Then let's face reality. One thing is for sure, I'm definitely now in the late game. So sometimes in points and miles, you'll hear people talk about early game where you can get approved for everything, mid game where you have to be a little more strategic and do some gardening and pick and choose, and then the late game where you have lots of handcuffs and restrictions on you because A, you've done all the cards that there are, at least all the major ones from the major banks, and B, inquiries, credit limit, those kind of things, just harder and harder to get new subs. For quite a while, I said that I was in the mid game. Then with the last year or so, I've been saying I'm kind of in the mid to late game, like right on the border between the mid game and the late game. Started in points and miles in the spring of 2019, so it's now been 7 years. This experience, this quarter, second quarter 2026, has confirmed for me I am definitely in the late game, especially when people like Chase are telling me we couldn't possibly approve you for another card. You just have too many things. Then Capital One saying things like you've closed too many cards. It's like, well, of course I've closed too many cards. Otherwise I'd have 50. I don't want to have 50 cards. So I'm definitely in the late game, whether I like it or not. Hey, you guys can give me suggestions. I need some input on knowing of a bank that meets these criterion. First of all, isn't inquiry sensitive. Because right now I'm at 5 inquiries just since April 1st. 6 if you count the HELOC. And that is going to mean that I'm going to have to find a bank that's not inquiry sensitive. I want to get this done before the end of summer. A bank that has business cards and that treat 524 okay. In other words, they have business cards and they don't report it to your personal credit. So no TD banks out there. Has nationwide approval. In other words, you might have this awesome bank down the road from you in the northern tip of Idaho, but they only approve people in Idaho, Montana, and Washington State. That doesn't do any, good for me. Just a second. I need to send a personal message. Sorry about that. So a bank that has nationwide approval, or at least like Midwest regional approval, like what you would think First National Bank of Omaha would do, but apparently doesn't. So, and then allows for online applications. There was quite a few banks. It seems like the smaller the bank, the more likely it is, where they didn't have any sort of online application. It was like you could do one of two things. You either call us. In some cases, that was the only option. Call and we'll set up an appointment with the business banker. No. Or you can click this I'm interested form and then we will call you, or if you're close enough, you can come in person. I've even seen a couple where like on Doctor of Credit, people giving data points like, yeah, I had to go apply in person. Unless it's like Chase or Capital One, I don't really want to apply in person. Maybe like my local credit union, but then we get into these issues here. In fact, the 2 credit unions that I'd be most likely to use don't offer business credit cards at all. So I would go to Lincoln Savings Bank. They have a really cool statue of Abraham Lincoln in front of their banks. So if you have any suggestions that meets all 4 criterion, please let me know. And then I would also like to have a decent sub that makes up for the 3% fee. What I mean by that is I got lucky. The company that installed my HVAC did not charge any credit card fee. But most roofing companies, most like debt companies, those kind of things do charge a fee if you pay with a credit card. Usually it's around 3%, or it might be like 3% for Visa, MasterCard, 4% for Amex, something like that. The one that I'm looking towards the most is 3.7%. So if I don't have a decent sub, then it's not worth doing. So if it doesn't have at least like a 5-6% return on spend, then I'm not going to do it because that wouldn't even make sense. The other option, I didn't list it here, is I could also just go for a big spend bonus. And I'm not sure what really makes sense with the big spend bonus. Put that last $10,000 on. The only one that comes to mind right now, it'd have to be a card I already have, would be the Hilton Surpass card, where if you spend $15,000 one year, you get a free night certificate. That's better than nothing, but it's not as good as a sub. Trying to think if I have any other cards right now where there's a big spend bonus. Those of you who watch my channel a lot know what my credit card portfolio looks like. Let me know if you can think of one. I have a Sapphire Reserve, but I'm not going to spend my way to $75,000 on that. I do know like the IHG cards have it. I don't have any IHG cards right now, and Chase won't let me in the door. So Hilton's about the only thing I can think of. And that will probably be my backup plan if I can't think of anything better. I'll probably go for that PNC card. So to kind of put a ribbon on everything here, what is your suggestion for me? If you're watching this after the fact, I would appreciate it if you put a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you think I should do. And then how do you handle your late game limitations? These two young ladies from the cast of Dugroz Minor Characters have suggestions to give, but what are your suggestions? I would love to hear them. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks. Now, if you're watching live, that wasn't my real final sign-off. That's the sign-off for when I do editing later. But that does conclude the theme of the day. Thank you so much to everybody that hung in there. 88 people. Not too bad. Let's see. Let's catch up on questions here. Yeah, we don't say those words out loud. We say pew-pews. New again, Yuri having a disagreement. I'll leave that to them. Hairmonth says, a little bird told me Hawaiian credit cards will go over to BOA in some time. So just like the Aviator cards, Barclays will approve almost anyone. TLER is in fact me. Okay, that was my assumption. Thank you so much for your very generous tip in the tip jar of 100 biggins. I appreciate that. By the way, how's your Sparrow mattress? That's the one that I suggested. Is that right? I think it is. I really like it. Maybe if you would go to my video, which you'll find a link in the description box on my other channel for the review, and just put, I like the Sparrow mattress or something. That would be helpful. Coder says, Delta co-brandeds do have elevated subs right now. If the boys are going to college soon, the companion pass can be a big savings for you and the missus. You mean the Delta companion pass? It would depend if they go to college far away. One of them is looking locally. The other one's a little more open to different options. I like this because it drives interaction, but I'm not going to read those out loud. What are you missing out on by staying under 524 if the ink train is gone? That's the best question that anybody has asked today, Sleepy Rod. I guess Wells Fargo City, you know, even if you don't follow 524 as a hard rule, there are rules about velocity and that kind of stuff. So keeping your velocity down, I mean, even the Chase guy made it sound like in 6 months, if I try again, I might get approved. Now he might just be saying stuff to get me off the phone and get me to shut up and go home. So who knows? But that is something I guess I need to think about. There's not, I wouldn't mind getting one more personal card from Chase. The one that I'm thinking about and just thinking about is the British Airlines card, because I just heard an episode of Frequent Miler Ask Us Anything or something like that recently, where they pointed out there were some ancillary benefits on that card that most of the other Avios cards don't have. And I am something of an Anglophile. It's something to do with, like, they'll give you a statement credit of up to $200 towards taxes and fees 3 times per calendar year on a $95 card. Well, that pays for itself with one booking. And then there's some other benefit that is more tangible, like a financial benefit. I can't remember what it is. If anybody remembers, British Airlines card issued by Chase, let me know. Vincent says, I'm trying to get a 524 right now for the Aeroplan card. That's a great one. My wife and I both have it, though, so we're okay. Caldard said, I think you just described Amex. Probably. QCMA says, Zeus Bank had good business cards. They seem to like you. Yeah, like I said, I've already had 3 like in the last 2 years. I've got 2 open right now, so I doubt they would approve me. Plus, Elon is a wholly owned subsidiary of U.S. banks. Do they know about that Lincoln Savings Bank card I got? I don't know. Calder says Navy Federal has a business card. Not sure if there's a bonus, though. You know, I looked at a Navy Federal and I didn't see that, but I'll screenshot it and look again. If you happen to get confirmation, let me know. Triple Cash from U.S. Bank is a great business card. It sure is. I'm working on actually just completed the sign-up bonus on one. It hasn't posted yet, but it should soon. Have I tried B of A? I have not, and I'm kind of holding back on BOA as part of that, like, they will always be there, late game strategies sort of thing. But maybe I just need to go with it. Vincent Pascal, D's what? Bobby 08085. Bobby? That's Hank Hill would say. Hey, Dugroz, have you considered the AA business card? $65K with $4K spend, $99 annual fee waived the first year. Do you think City would actually approve me even though I got the Strata Elite in December and the double cash like 2 weeks ago? New Again also says there's B of A. Cutter personal cards are easy to get approval for and give you some airline status, or you could go full Palladium. That's true. I could hop on with Build. Bobby gives $1.49 as a super chat. Thank you so much, Bobby. Celebrate. I really appreciate it. Texas Dog celebrates 18 months of membership. Thanks, Doug. Great show. Awesome. Hairmunt's just ordered his Sparrow mattress yesterday, so doesn't have any comments on it yet. Do keep me posted. I am really curious, though. But hey, giving me the $100 commission and getting a sweet deal through whatever portal you use, that's can't be beat. New Again says, I'm late game also, but I'm in Europe now, so it works out fine. And I'd be curious, have you been able to get any British credit cards? Not British Airlines, but like actually, hello, we're from the United Kingdom. We're a bank, and we would love to give you a credit card. Here's your £7 sign-up bonus, or something like that. Vincent says, I'm looking at the Atmos business and now the Hawaiian Airlines business so I can work on my 524. Yep, I thought about Atmos business too. That would probably be my first foray into Bank of America if I go that route. I really appreciate the 82 of you who've stayed on board. This live stream went longer than I expected. So I'm not going to go over the community tab questions today. I apologize. I will show you the picture really quick here. If it will hurry up and load on me. There we are. Right there. Okay. You were supposed to guess where these pictures were taken. There's one, and there's one. Yes, a bunch of people guessed this is either a Legoland or a Lego Discovery Center, and you were all correct. So anybody who guessed that gets 1,000 Dugroz points. I was going to say half so you can get the correct location. I'm feeling generous. The correct location is the one in Chicago. I think it might actually be in like Arlington Heights or something, but Chicago area, my family was there, or my kids and I, my wife stayed home. Were there 2 years ago in January of 24. So that's where it was. I think only one person asked me a question that was a specific question. And if I missed it, save it for next time, because I'm going to wrap it up there. It's been 3 hours plus, so I got to go. But thank you to all 87 of you who stayed on board. If you're watching this after the fact, remember, Taco for Taco Tuesday at Taco John's. And anyone who smashes the thumbs up button and gives a comment has my gleeful approval. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks.